Chris Hansen here of Hansen vs. Predators. To catch a predator and have a seat with Chris Hansen, I'm going to need all of you to have a seat right over there because I've been going through some transcripts and there's something you need to know. You're watching TTFT. I'll be watching as well.
Shit, lady! That's a cute fucking kid! Why, thank you. I just popped him out a while ago. See? Shit, lady! I'm so horny right now. You like pregnant again? I am. Why don't you hold my baby? I will pick him up with my hand power. What is the little cunt's name? Birth certificate says Paul. I call it shithead ruiner of my youth. Quacky bush. You little fuckstick. You can't do that, you little prickstick. You know what? Quacky bush. Good for me.
Howard the Duck.
What the fuck is up, internets?
Oh, 1 million kilowatts power.
Do not fucking get me started on this shit already.
Before we get into the movie, in 15 days from today, TTFT will be 1 year old. To celebrate, we have something very special planned. September 17th is the day. We made a movie a few years ago, premiered in 2000, actually premiered around this time in August 2018. Called I'm Gonna Kill Someone this Friday. We've been covering so many movies here, talking about other people's movies. We thought it was time to hold our own film to the flame for the 1 year anniversary. That is going to be a badass night. We're going to start the night off at 8 o'clock p.m. and we're going to make the I Am Gonna Kill Somebody This Friday YouTube premiere on our channel. We'll start at 8 o'clock. The movie will conclude at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and we'll come into an episode where we'll, like I said, we'll give Kill the same treatment that we've given other movies, and we're also going to have on some cast and crew from the movie, like a reunion.
And I think it shouldn't be sugarcoated because the reason why this is important is two main reasons. Number one, we're doing something. Man, I sound good since I plugged myself back in. One good reason is going to be not that we've given up any hope of making any dime off of this film, but there's not many filmmakers who have a film that's not been released to the public that will stream something to lead into a show. So we're taking that chance, number one. And number two, the show that we're doing, finally, again, people get to hold us to the fire and say, I mean, who do these guys think they are? They want to review all these movies. What the fuck do you guys know? Oh, we know a little something.
Yeah, okay. and we're not too, and we've got the hindsight to look back at the movie now to say this could have been better, or we still like this. Yeah. But that's coming up September 17th. Today we are covering Howard the Motherfucking Duck, the first Marvel film to ever be made.
Technically not true. The first film to be made using a Marvel character, which is still technically not true. That was Captain America in 1940s. But however, continue.
Yeah,
I got us, kid. Don't worry.
That's reaching. It's
Marvel not reaching. No, but it's not though. It's Universal MCA.
The cool thing is this episode couldn't have come at a better time because
True.
Actually, why is the timing so serendipitous?
It's crazy that something this This is one of those cult followings why I know it's why it's a cult following, but it's serendipitous because of the fact that this is the linear perspective of a film that used a Marvel character to Marvel being at an all-time high with comic book films, and also now Marvel doing What If. And Howard the Duck just premiered in the second episode of Marvel's What If, and it was so fucking bad. I think I can die now. I just saw T'Challa and Howard the Duck in one animated series. And I've lived, right?
Yeah, and it's
you didn't know that. I'm sorry.
I'm familiar with the premise of the What If, but yeah, that's exactly why this episode. We did not plan this. You would think that like, oh, everybody's talking about Howard the Duck right now because of What If. No. We planned this like months ago to do this episode on this date, mainly because this is around the time of Howard the Duck's birthday, according to the driver's license in his condom-filled wallet. This episode is going to be jam-packed, so we're going to try and keep it as tight as possible for the segments that involve us, because we have a very special Cast Crew Review segment lined up. Unlike anything that you've seen in Cast Crew Review, we're going to do something a little bit different, because we had so many people respond to us that were involved with the movie to come talk about it, including...
Almost as if, before you say their names, almost as if to say, this is what I had to do with it.
Yeah.
So whatever you say about it, this was my part.
Oh, and they came ready, so it's going to be a treat for you guys. There's Marty Brenneis, Marty Brenneis, like tennis. Marty Brenneis, who worked on the special effects. Miles Chapin, he starred as Carter, but he also played the duck coach, and we'll find out that... Are
you talking about Gordon Bombay?
Yeah. Quack. He was pretty much the assistant director. That duck coach is pretty much assistant director as far as he was concerned. We also have the stars from the film, Martin Ganapoler, Stephen Kravitz, and Reed Kirk Rahlmann. And then beyond that, for the discussion portion and the best of portion of the show, we're going to be joined by Brandon Elevator Pitch Karlis himself, ScreenRant and CBR's Coby Greif, and James McDonald of JamesMCD Reviews. And we actually just locked in somebody else that will be joining us yesterday on very short notice while we were doing research on the episode. There's actually a documentary that's being made we'll find out more about.
It's called Howard the Doc, right?
Perfect title. Yeah. Howard the Doc, and Ernie Trinidad, filmmaker who's working on that. He's going to be joining us as well. He's interviewed pretty much everybody in the movie. The director, the dude, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that played Howard the Duck. He interviewed everybody, so he should have a lot of good insight to offer the episode as well. So,
listen, I know you guys are pondering why we did this. Well, it's the pond. Let's jump right into it. And Durden, let's do our research.
All right. We did our research about Howard the Duck. This movie was released on August 1st in 1986. Some movies that were released in August of 1986 were Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part Dos,
Friday the 13th Part 6. See, Fast and Furious guys, you're not the first to take it so many sequels.
The Boy Who Could Fly. Didn't
he die?
Did you see that movie?
I did.
I don't remember the ending. I
think he died.
A very strange film.
The Boy Who Could Die.
I had such a crush on that girl. Armed and Dangerous.
Hey, The Fly. You know I respect that motherfucker.
David Cronenberg.
Yeah. Well, no, I've been talking about him.
You want to see a dead body?
You guys want to go see a dead body?
Rick, the fuck out of here.
Stand By Me. We also got One Crazy Summer.
Robin Williams, live at the Met.
She's Gotta Have It.
And of course, Autobots, roll out. Transformers the movie.
This was the original animated movie, not the Shia LaBeouf.
Well, that voice is from the animated part.
Okay.
You weren't coming at me, you were coming at them.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just coming.
Honey Boy.
Howard the Duck is written by married filmmaking team Willard Hike and Gloria Katz. Rest in peace to Gloria. She just passed away in November of 2018. Along with Howard the Duck, they also wrote American Graffiti and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, as well as nearly 10 other films spanning from 1973 to 1994.
Now, this was directed by William Hike. William Hike directed his first film in 1973, Messiah of Evil. He went on to direct French Postcards in 1979, Best Defense in 1984, and unfortunately would make the end of his directing career with Howard in 1986.
Howard the Duck stars Tim Robbins as Phil Blumbert, Leah Thompson as Beverly Switzler, Jeffrey Jones as Dr. Walter Jennings, and Chip Zine. I'm going to say Chip Zien doing the voice of Howard.
Let's not forget Ed Gale as the Duck, and of course Holly Robinson Pete as Case, a member of Casey and the Cherry Bombs. Baby, I loved you in 21 Jump Street.
Who?
Holly Robinson Pete. Holly Robinson.
Oh. Ah, okay.
The first black crush before Lupita.
That's okay. That answers my question because Angela she was like,
who is that girl?
I've seen her somewhere.
That's her. Holly
okay.
Robinson.
Howard the Duck was shot November 11th, 1985 to March 27th, 1986, with second unit picking up action scenes and stunt work in April of 1986, which I have a note here. Maybe that's why the production was cursed. It started on November 11th. 11/11.
That says a lot. Now, don't forget now the running time's an hour and 50 minutes, and you feel every minute.
Yes, how you feel it is depending on the beholder, but yeah, it was shot in San Francisco and surrounding cities. It had a budget of $37 million and made a little over $5 million during its opening weekend. As of right now, in September 2021, it has just tiptoed into the black.
Time is it?
Yeah, so wait. So, all right, it tiptoed out of the red with a worldwide gross of $37,962,774. So
it's growing.
I mean,
what are those royalty checks looking like?
What was it? 86, 87. We're in. It took
40
nearly.
years, damn near.
Yeah. All right, we're finally in the green.
Let's do it. Let's not forget before we move on here. Another thing about that film that people don't talk about here is that again, a lot of people do say this is a Marvel film. While this is the second film to actually use a Marvel character. The first one being Captain America in the 1940s. This is also a George Lucas / Universal film. George Lucas would not like you to remember that, but go ahead, sir.
Let's. That's all that I got about the movie. It is time for connections. Connections. Oh Lord, cock.
All right, guys, you know what time it is. I saw how surprised you were. You saw my page. You're like, this is for Howard the Duck. You're like, you had the right notebook?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to take you on a ride. Don't worry.
Connections, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And strap in.
Jesus Christ. All right, here we go, guys. All right, Mr. Roy here, King of Connections here, going forward here. Durden just took Vicodin. All right, with that being said, guys, the first thing I want to, all right, if you've never seen our show, King of Connections, used to be Lord of Connections. I used to be the Plug Connections. What we do is sometimes they're far out theories, and then, of course, sometimes there are things that you would never think of. But I've been watching the film since, pretty sure I've been in someone's womb, and I've always, I guess the more films you watch, you can connect more things. So, guys, let's jump right in.
Someone's womb?
Womb, yeah.
Oh,
I'm pretty
someone, not specifically Thelma's?
I was in the womb. I'm real. With that being said, all right, let's start out with
Womb for Improvement.
I love that.
All right.
Tilda Swinton.
I don't.
All right, so let's get it started, guys. All right, one of the connections I really loved is that Leah Thompson has an animal fetish. And what do I mean by that? How the fuck did I connect Back to the Future with motherfucking Howard the Duck? Well, she already loves the fuck duck, and she always loves Marty McFly. Ow!
Well, I see where you're going with that,
No, you
but
don't.
I'd like to take that. No, I see fly, duck. She's trying, but I'm caught up on Back to the Future that she's trying to fuck her son. Now, she doesn't know, but as a mom, you should have that instinct. Like, there's something.
I thought we were saving that for when we redid the Back to the Future film. Because I was going to play on
Well,
that. That's the scene I
you
want.
brought it up, and that only makes it more troubling.
No,
what
she
she's
brought Marty
into
up.
and-
Yeah.
Oh, Ducky, I'm just playing with you.
By the way, those were the sexiest pink panties I've ever seen from the 80s in my life. I was just like,
Howard, you really are the worst.
I can tell they're like Walmart brand. All right, we're getting off track here. All right, okay.
We'll get back to the panties, believe me.
Oh, thank you. Pink panties. Double P. All right. Don't get me started on Howard the Duck playing that fucking guitar like he's Michael J. Fox in fucking Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Your kids are gonna love this.
Yeah. It's like they took everything, like, all right, what's everybody loving these days? What's like popular in all the 80s movies? Okay, just grab bags, throw a little bit of that in there, throw a little bit of that in there, and then I feel like a lot of people are really just wanting more duck boobs in their movies. Let's make sure we get a lot
Leah
of duck
Thompson's
boobs.
hair wasn't straight out of Grease or Hairspray or some shit like that. It's fucking crazy. Also here, what I really loved was I was able to connect Doctor Strange and, of course, Howard the Duck. And I think you may find this familiar in the beginning of the film with Howard the Duck. When he's taken to that next dimension, I'm like, why does this shit seem familiar? Oh, yeah, it seems like when Tilda Swinton pushed pushed Doctor Strange into his astral form, and he went through that little dimension too. I'm like, this ride looks like almost the same trippy ride he fucking went on.
I'm sorry, I stopped listening at Tilda Swinton.
Okay, I'll forget I said Tilda. Remember when Doctor Strange went into that really trippy form? You know how we got this thing right here with all his hands moving out and everything? Howard the Duck goes on a similar journey when he's from the beginning. I'm like, oh shit, look, he's fucking Marvel, man. Somebody just couldn't let it go.
That was a very similar sequence as far as at least the transportation into the...
Right. I got this, bro. This is what I do, man.
Yeah.
Now it's time for all my nerd and blurred fans out there to really fucking love me. Guys, if you don't know anything about movies, and when you're a kid and let's say you play a sport, you play it because you love it, but then when you become a professional, you realize there's a business side to it. Same with acting. As I always want to be an actor. I hate SAG and any type of business part of acting. I just really want to do it for the passion of it. So with that being said, this is for all my business students out there and actors who love acting. In the movie, Howard the Duck says when the kids come in running to him, he was actually trying to be a monster. He was just like, and they run away. He was like, mutants. Well, if you know anything about the word mutants, Marvel couldn't use that word for quite some time. When the MCU was being born, when Marvel were buying back all their characters, and Disney, or should I say Fox, still owned the mutants, they couldn't say the word mutants. So in a lot of the Avengers movies, they use the word enhance. When we first meet Scarlet Witch, and we first meet Petro, who plays Quicksilver, Captain America says we have some enhanced in the fields. You know why? Because they would have gotten sued if they said mutants, because Fox still owned mutants. Thanks, Bryan Singer, for that crap you gave us. But with that being said, after that, it goes to mutants forever. You know why? Because if you understand this, now Marvel has gotten Fox, or should I say Disney got, however, they can now say mutants. So thanks to that, we will now get the second best Wolverine ever made outside of Hugh Jackman, and now they can say mutants, so mutants forever. And I'm not even done, brother. Howard the Duck was brought back in. He literally was brought from not being a Marvel film, but being in a Marvel film in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and then the most beautiful thing ever happened. Remember I brought up earlier that he kind of went through that same trippy void that Doctor Strange went in? Well, wouldn't you know it, that when he came back to Earth, here's my connection. He came back through a trippy void that, ironically, Doctor Strange made. So he's the most experienced not time travel, world traveler. Literally, he went to Cleveland, of all fucking places, and then leaves Cleveland, comes back to his home, only for Doctor Strange years later to come back. We need you in a battle.
Wait, he never went back to his home.
No, I'm sorry, he never went back to his home. But when he left his home, went to Cleveland, then left Cleveland and came straight to wherever the fuck they went to that battle at. So it's like, god damn it, he's traveling through worlds. But the beautiful part about it was Doctor Strange who showed up to get him. And I just told you that in Doctor Strange, he went on that same weird fucking trip. It's fucking crazy. It's serendipitous.
Yeah, it's almost like they planned it.
Yeah, go figure. Now, this is what I was going to say is that Jeffrey Jones. Okay. No,
where are you going with that?
No. I already. Oh no. Okay. Oh no, I can tell you exactly where I'm going with that. Jeffrey Jones adversely has a problem with animals because of the fact, unlike our freak Leah Thompson, who loves animals, he hates them because
the dog.
Ferris Bueller connection. Yeah. Thank you again. Went from the dog to the duck. Yeah. They are fucking him up. You know, I'm not going anywhere with that shit. And I believe I'm almost done here. I'm pretty sure. Did I miss one? No.
All right. It is time for me to congratulate the Lord of Connections on some great connections before we get into
Vahina and connections.
How about 10 things that you may or may not have known about Howard the Duck?
Let's start at 10.
Number 10, hatch date. According to Howard's license, he was born on September 5th, 1958 in Washington, D.C.
Remember the 5th of September.
Which is just 3 days away from now, so be sure to send him a happy birthday.
Number 9, alternate cuts. In the UK, 2 cuts were made, totaling 46 seconds to secure a PG rating. Now, when Leah Thompson pulled the condom out of Howard's wallet, and the villain sticks his tongue in the car cigarette lighter to recharge himself, cuts were also made to the West German theatrical version to secure a 9/12 rating. The TV version in the US adds extra bubbles to a bath to hide duck boobies.
Number 8, Duck cooks Price's goose. Shortly after Howard's release, Frank Price, the head of Universal, the studio that funded the film, quit his job. Variety magazine ran the story under the headline, Duck Cooks Price's Goose. Allegedly, following a test screening of the film, Frank and Sid Sheinberg, another executive at Universal, were arguing about who was to blame for greenlighting this project. The argument ended up in a fist fight.
Number 7, alternate title. Due to Howard the Duck's disastrous box office performance domestically, the title was changed to Howard, a New Breed of Hero. For release outside the U.S. Out of all my deep dive, I didn't see that shit. He said outside the U.S. That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it didn't help.
Number 6, Leah's look. Leah Thompson designed her character's look after Cyndi Lauper and Madonna. Her 1980s hairstyle required 2 hours in hair and makeup each day.
I wish the script would have took that. Number 5, Duck Hunter. Ernie Carvalho, a podcaster and author, owns the world's largest private Howard the Duck collection, boasting memorabilia, cast and crew items, authentic movie props, including the animatronic head used in the movie. That's a moving head if you saw one.
Number 4, twisted wardrobe choice. The fatigue pants that Howard sports are covered with a camouflage pattern typically used for duck hunting.
Number 3, ain't no fun if the homies can't have pun. Listen, guys, when it comes to Easter eggs and puns, there are plenty of Easter eggs in Howard the Duck, many of which serves as callbacks to other Lucas projects. The cook in the sushi restaurant is wearing an Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom t-shirt. Another Lucasfilm production that was also written by Willard, Hayek, and Gloria, and a kid is seen wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. Not Star Trek, guys. Don't kill me from a few episodes ago. There's a homage to Back to the Future that you'll notice in the similar twin fire streaks left by Howard's recliner.
And there's plenty of duck puns. There's movie posters for Splash Dance, take on Flash Dance, Breeders of the Lost Stork, or Readers of the Lost Ark. And on that poster, it reads from the creators of Beaks, Jaws, and Fowl Wars, which you know what that one is. There's another poster that reads My Little Chickadee, starring Mae Nest and W.C. Fowl. And of course, we got Play Duck magazine.
Very good. Number 2, or Deuce, the music. Much of John Barry's soundtrack for the film went unused due to co-writer and producer Gloria Katz feeling that it was too old-fashioned and lacking in energy. Sylvester Levy was brought in to rescore most of the film, including nearly the entire third act. And official soundtrack was released on record and cassette in 1986 in conjunction with the film. Now, recently in 2019, a 3-CD set of the complete soundtrack, including the Dolby songs, Barry unused score, and Sylvester Levy's contributions. Leah Thompson actually performed all the singing for her character's band. In a Twitter comment, she confirmed that she still has the Les Paul guitar.
Cherry bomb. And number 1, Beyond. In 2014, Howard made his second cinematic appearance in the post-credit scene of Guardians of the Galaxy, exactly 28 years and 1 day after his theatrical debut in 1986. In 2017, Howard the Duck was screened at the Egyptian Theater's Beyond Fest with over 400 people in attendance, including Leah Thompson, who said that the event was actually better than the initial premiere. And Howard was also seen in Avengers Endgame, as well as a recent episode of Marvel's What If. So with his birthday coming up in 3 days, with all of this Howard resurgence, I think it's time for hashtag Bring Back Howard to begin trending on the Twitterverse. And on that thought, we can get right into talking during the movie.
All right, guys, this is a very special talking during the movie. We have some friends joining us to discuss Howard the Duck. And those friends are, we have James McDonald, who...
How's it going, guys?
Please hold your hellos until I'm done with the intros. Oh. I'm just kidding.
Why are you being so rude? I'm not fucking with you. Go ahead.
We have James McDonald, YouTube reviewer and filmmaker. Check him out on JamesMCD Reviews. We also have Brandon Karlis, Mr. Elevator Pitch himself, writer, filmmaker, actor, alcoholic. Stop me when I'm
dog eater.
We have Coby Greif. I always want to say Greif. Coby Greif, writer, contributor to CBR, ScreenRant, and
Infinity Gauntlet owner.
It's the Iron Gauntlet! It's the Iron Gauntlet! Stella!
No, I'm sorry, Iron Gauntlet owner. Thank you.
And then we've got Ernie Trinidad, filmmaker, currently working on a documentary called Howard the Doc. Before we get into the discussion, just say hello one at a time, and when the first time was you saw Howard the Duck. Brandon.
20 minutes before this started. Finished it 20 minutes ago. And I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck just happened. Next, just give me more time.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, I saw him. He's ready to go.
James, how about you, man?
Hi, how's it going? I had seen bits and pieces up until this point, but I had just recently watched it in its entirety when I was invited on. I've since watched it twice, and yeah, that was a trip.
Got you. No, excuse this. Here you go. I got you. All right, thank you so much for that. And Ernie, I think your answer may be a little bit different, but let us know the first time, how many times, and the last time you watched it.
The first time I ever saw it would have been opening weekend, August 2nd, 1986.
Wow.
I would either have seen it that Friday or that Saturday. I can't remember the exact date. I have seen the film theatrically 3 times, once when it first opened, and then twice at Revival Theaters here in Los Angeles. And I have probably, because of the documentary I'm working on, I've probably seen the film about 40 more times in the last 3 years.
Wow. So you were there opening weekend, and it sounds like you were at the, the Beyond Film Festival or something? I don't remember where it was called. The second time I saw it theatrically was at a midnight screening at Tarantino's New Beverly. This is before he bought the New Beverly, but it was played at the New Beverly. It's sold out, and then the Beyond Fest screening you're talking about was the 70mm screening that Leah Thompson went to. I did not make it to that one because I was somewhere else, and then there was another one I went to. Funny enough, at the Vista Theater, which Tarantino now owns, was a screening with Ed Gale Q&A. So that was the last time I saw it theatrically. Awesome. Coby, how about you? I know that you had not seen it before, right?
No, I obviously heard about it. No, I watched it actually over the weekend, and it was an interesting experience.
Everyone's being so nice about it. It was interesting.
Do not feel just because I made a documentary about Howard the Duck, don't feel that you need to be nice, because I get it.
I'm glad you said it. I'm not trying to probably send everybody a message like, hey guys.
There are people who hate it, despise it, and then there are people who actually love it and defend it. I've heard from all sides.
I think I could put it into a sentence. How the fuck can a film be so bad and so fun, kind of, at the same time? It makes
honestly, no sense. I was kind of expecting it to be worse. Like, it's not good, but
it's not good by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, like, it's sometimes so ridiculous that it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So I saw the movie for the first time when I was 6 or 7. My pap had this VHS collection, home recorded movies, cataloged in composition books, and he's pretty much responsible for every movie that I saw as a kid. And I probably watched it. I watched it quite a bit up until I was about 11 or 12, and I had not watched it again since then until last night for this episode. And I have to say that I loved it as a kid. I can understand why people that are like fans of the comic book loathe it. If I would not have loved it as a kid, I don't know how I would have felt about it as an adult if I didn't bring that nostalgia with me into the experience as an adult. And as somebody that is like a filmmaker, I have thoughts about like the film itself, but I'll get into that during the review part.
Well, as for me, I believe I saw it for the first time when I was, like you said, around your age. But apparently, I remember the best part of the movie, which was a goddamn song.
Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck.
Is that the actual theme song?
Which was the Howard the Duck song. I'll get into it later, but that song stuck with me for some reason for fucking 25 years. It's so catchy and good. You got Leah Thompson and our girl Holly Robinson. They got the fishnet stockings going on. Eric knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Ernie knows what I'm talking about. Ernie, I'm sorry. I thought about Holly Robinson, but completely forgot your name. Sorry.
No worries.
Did they actually record that music themselves? That's not like
yes, they did.
The person singing.
They did. Damn. That's all them.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I read correctly, Leah Thompson, she did all of her vocals, and they weren't even sure, even as they were shooting those scenes, if they were going to dub her or have her actual vocals used. Is that right, or is IMDb a liar?
No, that is true. And it was Thomas Dolby who insisted that they use her vocals because he said she is really good and there's no reason to redub her. And she was concerned about being dubbed throughout the picture, even through to the concert at the end.
Wow.
But ultimately they used her, thankfully.
Let me tell you something, Ernie. Don't you spoil us. We normally have to Google and we're moving stuff around. We got people in the background. Don't be coming with these facts. Like, don't you spoil us. We're going to have you come and do a documentary on every movie we do. But good stuff, man. Really good stuff.
I will say, I just had like a series of notes, so I'm just going to chime in with them.
Just go.
There's a free space. But the first note that I put is that, and this goes back to when I watched it as a kid even, is that the sexual innuendo in this movie is just so weird to me. If there's anything that's like most of the bad elements about the movie are bad in a way that you can have fun with, but the sexual innuendo is like cringe.
Did it start with you at Play Duck?
No, that was all right.
My little airbrushed beauty.
The duck, even the duck boobies, they were fine.
Were they?
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. Yeah, they were toy. But what it got weird for me is with Leah Thompson. Like that, the relationship.
Would it be less weird if a duck's dick didn't look like that?
Like what?
Oh, like what?
You guys know what a duck's dick looks like, right?
No. Well, I will.
Yeah.
Soon.
It's not a pretty sight. It's terrifying.
I have not seen one myself, but it has been discussed, and we basically said that all the discussions about how that love scene was scarring would have gone a step further if it was anatomically correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey Google, show me a duck's penis.
I mean, I was shocked. I was just shocked at the rating. Like, I kept having to check. I was like, "This is PG."
Yeah, it was also.
I was like, I just couldn't get past that. I was like, I don't know about that.
Kobe, Kobe, this is PG during the 80s.
Yeah. Like all the R-rated movies that came out during that time had toy lines. So, but even still, for an 80s movie, I was like, Jesus.
I mean,
but the funny thing is the fact that when Howard the Duck opened, PG-13 existed.
Really?
Wow. So is that going to be censored? Wow.
Yes, that part. Yes, that part. Yes, I'll make sure of it. Yes.
Now that probably would have really pushed the NC-17 into the forefront before NC-17 was even necessary. They wouldn't even know what to call it.
Yeah, talking about getting screwed.
You know, there was somebody out there that, like, in that when she pulls the condom out of his wallet when he passes out. You know, there's somebody that realized that, like, watched Howard the Duck and then grew up to like take their condoms out of the wrappers and put them in their wallets. That's just how they thought it was done, right? You know that
we'll get there.
Well, no, it sounds like we're there. What does that say right there?
Okay, he said he has a note here that says the condom was not even in the package. Well, forgive me for him giving us one of the fucking greatest terms ever in the world. Here's my rubber ducky. Get it? That's what that is, rubber ducky. So he came up with that shit. That's one of the best parts of this film.
All right, can we put some clothes on Howard the Duck? Because I want to address the fact that how weird it is that somebody comes home to relax after a long day of work and just stretches out in the recliner in a three-piece suit.
You're okay with Al Bundy sticking his hands down his pants when he comes home, but you're questioning the duck.
At least he unbuttoned his pants. He's sitting there in a three-piece suit like, time to wind down.
It's like a regular film noir, you know?
Like that first part was like a weird noir before it gets like yeeted here, I guess you would say. Like, it was kind of like the weird noir setup, and it was just like, cool, where's this going? And then nothing happened that had anything to do with that vibe.
And when he looked into the messages on his answering machine, there was like one that sounded like it was his girlfriend or like maybe his wife, and then another that sounded like it was his like side girl. And I was like, but that's going on your voice. Like, what if your wife was home and listened to that? I don't know. It just didn't see him. I guess
he wouldn't be nailed down with a wife. That's how he can settle with Beverly.
Ernie, what's your theory on that, Ernie? Because like you said, you watched this 40 times. Did you notice what Kobe just said, that there are two different voices?
There are three, actually. One was his mother.
Oh my God, Mother Mallet.
Calling him about his birthday, and then another one is telling him to come on over so she can show him something that she saw or witnessed. I can't remember exactly.
More weird sexual innuendo.
And there might have been a third. I can't remember for certain.
There was a letter from someone named Michelle talking about how she misses Howard's beak pressed up against her.
Yeah.
Okay. Since he threw that out there, I'm going to throw this out there. The only thing I could think of halfway through this movie during the rewatch was, thank God this was made. And then I put in big quotation marks sarcastically, or we would have never gotten the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles we deserve. Because I feel like they looked at this as like, we can't do that and we got to do this. Because I'm like, what's the difference? Duck, turtle. If Teenage Mutant Turtles was like this, I would have fucking hated it. So I'm happy that this came out to give us stuff to build on. That's all I'm saying. And go.
Well, the most direct influence that Howard the Duck's existence has is that without it, we would never have got Pixar.
True.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time when George sold the animation, the computer and animation unit of ILM to Jobs to get back some of the money he thought he's going to lose on Howard. So, and ultimately after that sale, it became Pixar.
But when Howard was made, was it was it supposed to be like a big blockbuster, like make a lot of money, big movie, or was it meant to be kind of a satirical kind of like indie?
It's, I would say, hard to say. I mean, I don't want to put words into the mouth of Willard, and since we haven't nailed down George Lucas yet, I can't say anything to what he might have said, except as like, we'll fix it in post or something. But
oh Lord,
I think that is like their hope was for it to be just a modest hit. Yeah, just think back in the 80s, though, hits were anything that made over $40 million was considered a big hit. Right. There's nothing back then. Back and then, nothing. Barely anything made over $100 million. So anything, so it did average.
Like the expectations had to be so weird because it's like from the creator of producers of Star Wars.
But when you say that though, you see the influence though. You see the influence in the title, the font, and also you see the fucking Jedi mind trick. I'm like, okay, so we've downgraded the Jedi mind trick to this now. Like I see you're still using it.
But I think the issue is, and I'll get into this a little bit more in the review, but I feel like the main issue for this movie that the challenge was that it's like the pace, the tone wasn't agreed on across the board unanimously for what they were going for. Like Miles Chapin was talking about Willard having a very particular sense of humor, and once you get to know him, you appreciate it. And once I knew that going into the movie, it's like, okay, I could see that, but it's almost like across the board didn't get that memo. Like if it was played, I'll get into it more.
Okay. Go for it.
I have a note here that I love the portrayal of bullies and hoodlums in the 80s. The fact that Howard lands on Earth and is immediately harassed by humans, this gang of hoodlums. They were seemingly just walking the alley waiting for somebody to pick on, like bullies did in the 80s. And they're
talking about like the vampire pirate 80s rockers,
the Satan sluts.
Thank you for saying that.
Biker band.
The coolest female band biker gang fucking ever. Does this not say that Satan sluts? That's the best thing ever.
But the funny thing is that like this is an alien essentially, and their first like inclination is to pick him up and throw
it's the 80s. When cocaine, I keep telling you that it's the 80s, man.
But then Leah Thompson is walking and she's not out 3 minutes after the show, and two guys just jumped out like, "Hey, you ready to get raped?"
Okay, the reason why you can't fuck with that because we watch Beef and Vendetta. The finger men come and get old girl, and she's out for a few minutes. So
that's a whole different scenario. It's not 80s Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm just saying, as a kid that grew up on this material, I was terrified. Like I blame these movies for my social anxiety because these movies told me that you go outside.
Everyone's going to try and kill you.
Yeah, if you're a duck.
or a woman.
It's not people outside, it's the Russians.
You know who they were always fucking with was Anthony Michael Hall. And that was me. So I'm like, I can't go out in public like Anthony Michael Hall.
Calm down.
I'm going to get a milkshake poured on me for no reason by Robert Downey Jr.
Okay.
Anyways, I thought you have to watch this and embrace what it is and the time that it was made in order to fully enjoy it. And that's like 80s bullies were just, they're one of a kind.
Ernie, could you speak to this real quick? One of the things I want to bring up with is the common misconception, and even I believe Coby can speak to this as well, is that, and as well, James, this isn't the first Marvel film. No, this is one of the first films that used a Marvel character. If you want to go back to really the first character that was used, Captain America, in the serial series in like 1940s. Then they used Howard the Duck, but it was not a Marvel film. So people are, look where Marvel came from. Yeah, but not technically. This is Universal MCA. One of you guys want to speak to that?
Technically, it is not. Captain America is usually not counted because it was a serial and not released as a single feature film that you sit down for 2 hours and watch. It was released a new episode once a week or every other week. And as far as I know, it was never screened altogether. But he is the first official Marvel character to be a theatrical film. It wasn't a Marvel produced film by any measure, at all. That I don't think that happens until Blade.
Epic,
which was like 10 years later, 13
maybe
years later,
15 years. Yeah. Coby, you got anything or anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just interesting. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys are watching the new Marvel's What If on Disney Plus, and how the Dark happened, was in this week's episode. And I know you guys posted about that on Instagram. And, I think it's interesting that such a crazy, like, out of this world character has kind of already been in the MCU. Now, I think, he's been in both Guardians of the Galaxy. I saw the other day that I guess he was in the ending scene of Endgame, but I didn't know that until recently. And then in this episode of What If, and it's like, I appreciate instead of, Marvel could have distanced themselves from this crazy character. It didn't work. It didn't make sense. But really they've embraced it. And I think like it's almost made this movie even more interesting just to be a part of that history.
I love it. Brandon, you had anything on that, sir?
Not really. Can we talk about the movie some more? Because I'm
well, one of the first funniest parts to me was Tim Robbins when he first sees Howard and he runs into the room with the other scientists like, you guys, it's
nothing.
Tim Robbins is a great actor. He is terrible in this movie.
He became a great actor. He
was already really good in the airplane scene.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He was good, but terribly good.
Yeah.
And you could tell that he had reservations for
about certain things.
He was going way outside of his comfort zone.
He looked in the mirror and like, I gotta save this fucking film. Ernie, talk to us about it.
I'm still trying to lock him down. Hopefully we'll get him. But this was not his first film, but this is his first featured role. And I'm thinking from the people I've spoken with that he basically wanted to do a great job and he really wanted to push the envelope of what he can do. And I remember as a kid, when I saw him, I just found his character irritating and not so much funny. And I'm thinking, well, as a kid, I thought that, but now as an adult, I was like, I can see what he's trying to do here. But then my thing is like, yeah, but like, I wasn't a big fan of him. So I thought he was like, he served more as the villain than the villain itself.
Yeah, the way he maniacally laughs when he takes that feather from it. It's like that's
the real villain of this movie is its pacing.
You're not the first to say that.
Brandon, speak more to that if you can.
You could have cut 30 minutes off that movie easy. In the beginning, it gives you you could have cut the movie almost in half from the time that he like randomly appears to like that weird scientist. They took like 30 extra minutes between the time they meet Tim Robbins' character to like till the time where they actually meet Dr. Jennings for the first time. It's like, where was Dr. Jennings like for half the film? Do we really need to go through more dark, seedy underbellies of fucking Cleveland, Ohio, where where is that bathhouse? And how come sometimes there's scenes where people are completely cool with there being like a walking, talking duck, and other scenes people lose their damn minds.
Let's talk about the bathhouse. Let's talk about the pacing and things that could have been removed. That bathhouse was the most unnecessary scene in any and first of all, apparently the Cleveland State Unemployment Office works closely with the sex organization, the selling of sex organization in the city, closely enough that they could just hire somebody on their behalf. Then he goes there for that dude that was the owner. That was like that was some like B- movie acting, like this guy, not only is he a bad actor, but he's a bad business owner. He's got customers in the jacuzzi, and he thinks right now, and this is where I have a problem with the writing, because like, oh, we want to get Howard in it, we think it'd be funny, and like, oh, if we throw him in a jacuzzi with people that are like doing it, what owner is going to throw a duck into a jacuzzi with customers? It's currently in use.
But to Brandon's point, they don't even fucking freak out. They're like, oh well, hey, the ducks in here.
What kind of drugs are going on at this bathhouse?
Well,
where can I find me some?
Because whole lot of toot.
Ernie, correct me if I'm wrong. When Howard walks in that bathhouse, he says something to the effect of towels, rags, antibiotics.
Antibiotics?
One of the best lines of the movie to me easily. I really love that. Really love that.
So, did anybody notice when he's walking out of when he finds out that Phil is just an assistant, and he walks out of that museum? Did anybody? I'm hoping you could see this, but
Typical hairless ape.
Howard, now come on, don't flutter off in a huff.
Typical hairless ape.
Howard, now come on, don't flutter off in a huff.
that cracked me up. And when we talked to he missed the first step. He completely misses the first step and just keeps going. When we talked to Miles, he was talking about how they couldn't see out of the eyes in the mask, so it gets so hot that the eyes would fog up, so the actor was essentially blind, but you could see out of the mouth, but only when it was open. And knowing that, seeing a scene like that where you're just imagining like the actor can't see where they're going, and they're directed to walk down a flight of stairs.
And go a little behind the scenes for you is Ed Gale is one of the actors who plays Howard, and he's the most well-known actor in the suit. He actually, during rehearsal, walked his scenes backwards so that he knows exactly, because like you said, he can't see. So he walks his scenes backwards. So he's like, okay, I got to go 10 steps, then I'll go left, then I got to take 5 steps, then I'll go right. And then when he shoots the film, shoots the scene, then walks forward, he knows exactly how far he's got to walk, when he's got to turn, who he's got to look at, and then when he's got to make his way upstairs. He's just like, I can't see anything. So that was the only way he could figure out a way to actually, and he was able to hit his mark every time doing it that way.
That's wild, because like if you walk backwards and then you try to walk forwards, you have to inverse all of your directions. And my ass would have just walked off a building.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask James, this is more so for James and Coby here, because you guys are, of course, our young spirited ones. Thank you for leading us into the future here. One of my biggest problems, I know Brandon's biggest problem, like you said, the pacing. One of my biggest problems was I went back and I'm like, this movie does not age well at all. So, but that's coming from us who've seen it before. So I want to ask you guys, seeing this for the first time, be honest time here throughout the whole film. Did you find yourself looking down at your phone one time?
During the second act, I definitely did. During the climax with the giant alien, I'm like, okay, I get it. Can we just get this over with? Like the rest of the movie, I honestly felt went by pretty fast. It's just to when they get to all the alien invasion shit and the final battle in the laboratory and everything, that I'm kind of like, okay, it feels like he's just trying to throw everything but the kitchen sink into this climax. I'm just like, okay, I get it. Can we wrap it up, please?
Let's move on to casting call then.
All right, guys, casting call. If you don't know what it is, if you've never joined the show before, casting call is where we, as everybody wants to be the greatest director in the world, sometimes say, hey, I could have did that better, or this person will be better at that part. So what we're all getting ready to do is just for the main primary characters say, hey, if this wasn't this person, we would have loved to see that person. Durden, take us away.
All right, so I'm going to roll mine out in one swoop, because what I did was I'm under the and I'll get into this in the review part, but I think that this movie should be remade exactly from the script that Willard and Gloria wrote. I think it does. I think that script deserves that specific script deserves to be remade with a different cast that really understands the tone that it's going for. And so I recast it as if it were to be, that script were to be remade today with actors that are working right now. And I think that Justin Roiland, who does Rick and Morty, would be a great voice for Howard, even though Seth Green is doing a really good job. I think it's somebody that could bring that intensity that Tim Robbins brought to Phil, but do it in a way that seems like it's self-aware so that it can be appreciated more by the audience, would be Nicolas Cage, because you would come to expect it. Dr. Walter Jennings, I think Tim Heidecker would nail that. And I think Jeffrey Jones did a really good job. I think out of all the actors, he understood the tone that this movie was going for. And I think Tim Heidecker would walk in those shoes well, as far as like being dry about it. Like, you don't really know that you're supposed to be saying something funny right here. And I was really high when I did this last night, because when I watched Howard the Duck the first time as a kid, obviously I wasn't under the influence of anything. So I wanted to see what it was like under the influence of some marijuana. So I did that, and for Beverly, just for the fuck of it, just to embrace the absurdity that this movie should be, I want Christian Bale to play Beverly and do it with the intensity and the commitment that he brings to every role, and just play it 100% straight, exactly over the top the way she did. I think that would be hilarious.
I'm not even going to say
it. Oh, Ducky.
What am I gonna do with you?
Here's the thing. I didn't want to see that, but with you saying that, I know Christian Bale would take it so serious. He's such a fucking method actor.
Oh, yeah.
That he could get to it.
He would get a sex change.
Right. I only have three. Those are that. You're right. And I wasn't with him, by the way, last night, guys. So
I don't identify as a female. I identify as Beverly now.
I only have three. And Ernie will appreciate this one. For the voice of it, they couldn't get the animatronics to work, but you know what I'm going to say? The late, great Robin Williams, I would have loved to see what he could have done with the character if they could have got the mouth right. But, you know, as Coby knows, I believe Howard Stark said this, where I'm referencing Howard Stark. I'm a prisoner of the technology of my time, so somebody else is going to have to fucking figure it out. So that would have been the voice. As Howard the Duck, I know I'm not being racist or animalist here. I would like to call it animalist. I would have loved to see Brian the dog as Howard the Duck. Like, if I could take the duck out, I would have loved seeing Brian the dog from fucking Family Guy.
So yes. That's Seth MacFarlane, right?
Correct, which is I was one of my connections earlier. That's why I took it out. Remember?
Yeah.
Boom. There you go. Last but not least, just for shits and giggles, Beverly, I would have liked to see as Winona Ryder from the team, because she fucks puppets.
She can go over the top too. Yeah.
There we go. Those are my three. Guys, on you. Follow that.
All right, I'll go first. I definitely don't have my whole cast planned out, but I think the big switch for me would be I think Howard, what's so interesting about Howard is like he is ridiculous, but he's such a straight character, you know? Mm-hmm. Like he's the straight man. So it would be interesting to pair him with somebody who's more ridiculous than him. And I was thinking, I don't think she's the best actress in the world, but I was thinking like Awkwafina could bring like a lot of comedy to the role. And I just would feel like be so absurd that almost he would seem normal.
Yeah.
You know, which he kind of is. Like, he wears his 3-piece suit. He's got a job. He's a very, like, you know, he's only quirky because of the situation, not because of who he is. So it'd be interesting to pair him with someone who's, like, kind of out there.
He's way more sophisticated than us hairless apes.
Yeah, he's just a duck, man.
Yeah.
I like that. That was a good choice.
That's a duck, man. That's a duck.
Ernie or Brandon, feel free to go. Or James, I think we missed James too. James, either one of you guys.
So if they were to remake this movie, firstly, it would be R-rated and directed by James Gunn, because that just makes sense. For the voice of Howard, I mean, Seth Green is the obvious choice because he's in the Marvel movies already, but I think it'd be interesting to see Danny DeVito as the voice of Howard. I don't know, that just seems like a really good choice. And then for Beverly, I don't know, maybe Samara Weaving. She was in Ready or Not. She seems like she could play well off of a, CGI duck. She's been in some weird shit already, so.
Yeah, I like it. Good list, man. Good list. Brandon or Ernie?
Ernie, you go first. Actually, no, I'll go. Then you go last. You probably have way better opinions about this than I do. So with Jennings, I would go with Bryan Cranston.
Okay.
For the voice of Howard the Duck, I would go with Donald Glover.
Yeah.
And then for Phil, I'd go Sam Rockwell.
Oh, I almost put Sam Rockwell for Phil but then Nicolas Cage had to take it. I could see Sam Rockwell.
Bev, I think you could insert campy actress here, and it would work.
That's so sexist.
Well, no, she doesn't do a lot of heavy lifting in the film. Actually, none of them do, or else it would have been, good.
I think it was meant for her to do some heavy lifting.
Yeah, but then again, I think that Howard could cut. You could cut some. There were so many one-liners that you could have just. Some of them worked and some of them didn't. Most of them didn't.
Don't tell that to Matt Damon. He thinks anybody can be Iron Man this witty. Don't tell that to Matt Damon.
Yeah, I mean.
Let's see. I got this question once before, but we only stuck to one character. And so I thought about the other characters too. So Jennings, I agree. Bryan Cranston was one of the ones I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But I was more thinking Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, yeah. He could do it.
So I thought he would be like, he can have that balance of, because you got to play 3 different characters at once. So I think he could definitely pull that off easily. For Beverly, while I was hearing you guys talking about it, prime Allison Hannigan popped into my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
She can totally, or even Anna Faris, but she could totally do the silly shit.
This one time at space camp.
There you go.
Space camp.
I stuck a toot in my pussy.
Yeah.
There we go. Earn it your head.
Got it.
Howard. I would go with one of the originals. I would thought Robin Williams would be interesting, but I just can't. Once he did Aladdin and the genie, I can't think of him doing anything else other than that. It would just be, it's like, oh, they're just trying to make Howard be the genie, but it's like, no, it's Robin's like, no.
I don't think they can animate the duck to be Robin Williamsy enough.
No, because the manic energy would not match the the character itself. For the voice, I would think John Cusack, who was the original choice, one of the original choices.
Really?
For Ilzy, this came up before, and I said Daniel Day-Lewis.
Wow. Okay.
He can do anything. Yeah, just
he can do anything, and he could. I don't even know. Has Daniel Day-Lewis ever done a comedy?
I don't know, but he could. You know what would be really interesting to watch? I want to see Daniel Day-Lewis play Christian Bale, playing Daniel Day-Lewis.
And vice versa. So you just have them like a dueling.
Yeah.
It's a Christopher Nolan film, so there's like weird macabre. Like it's just this weird Inception deal.
Yeah.
Face Off too.
Just remake the Prestige, but can't recast. Prestige.
Before we move on from casting call, we announced the real life casting calls that were almost made. Some of these we mentioned it during our conversation. Robin Williams was originally cast to voice Howard. Like you said, John Cusack as well as Martin Short auditioned to voice Howard. Jay Leno was considered for the role of Phil Blumberg. Phoebe Cates and Tori Amos auditioned for the role of Beverly. Others considered for the role were Paula Abdul, Kim Basinger, Jodie Benson, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Laurie Singer. John Landis, being a close friend of George Lucas, was originally lined up to direct the movie, but turned it down after reading the script because the chase scene at the end was too similar to his previous film, Blues Brothers. Casting call will be continued in Cast Crew U when Miles pulls out his file folder and lists like all these people that sent in auditions for Howard or different roles is very interesting. We are going to move on to 7 Minutes in Heaven and begin with our favorite scene. Like I said, favorite scene, if you have an honorable mention, we could keep it to 2. I'll start. My favorite scene is the opening, and I think that's for me because the part of this movie that I think falls short is when the human actors come into play. That's where I think the tone gets lost in the translation from the script to the performance. But that isn't. The opening isn't affected by that. You're in Howard the Duck world, and the setting up the space with all the puns, the posters, and as a kid, I watched this movie so many times, but I often never finished it. So I've seen the beginning probably 100 times. I've seen the whole movie maybe 20, 30 times. So it's the beginning that really stuck with me as far as the nostalgia, and like. I'll never forget watching that for the first time and seeing, like, as a 7-8-year-old, seeing, like, I think the first boobs I saw were feathered. Like, thanks, Willard. Thank you. That's a first that I can never get back. Oh my God. It just came, but it stuck with me, and it really set the movie, It was imaginative. It was everything you'd expect from an 80s movie at the time.
Okay. Was that your honorable mention or that was your one?
I only had one. That's my favorite scene.
All right, so I'm going to go make these really quick. Mine was a two-parter. It was the two times in the movie where Howard actually acted like a duck, which I thought was serendipitous himself because he didn't want to do it. It was the first one, and I know Ernie remembers this. He's pretending to be like one of the mascots of the little things out there. He's hiding, trying to... Like he's like,
the first shot where they look and see him out there, that's straight out of a nightmare. Where he's just standing there looking dead, like
he looks so out of place even still because that's the chicken behind him.
Right, I was fucking confused, but also
he was wearing a jacket. So
that's true. But also, it was the other scene kind of made me think of Spaceballs when the little guy, the little animal dances across the little thing. But when he comes across the fucking bar, he was like, "Ah!" I'm like, what? Oh, Howard's being a fucking duck. Yes, finally. So yeah, that was but my number one favorite scene. I don't know if I know you guys saw it, but goddamn it, I rewinded it 3 times, and I never thought I'd say that about this film. When that lady says, "I'm gonna find your ass a job," that shit there, that unemployment scene was so fucking good. I meet people like you all the time thinking you come down here and you ain't gonna be working. You're like, all right, yeah. So that
right out of her ass.
Yeah, that's my fucking favorite scene. I'm sorry. All right, you guys go. That's anybody.
Brandon, go ahead.
Brandon's like, I don't
I really enjoyed. For as weird and as campy as I really enjoyed the airplane scene. Another time when Howard actually acts like a duck is when he like lands on the car. He's like, I don't know why I landed on this truck. I just know that I'm next, and then poof, hit the duck hunters thing. They got to fly and they knock all the duck hunters out, and then by middle chase towards the end of the chase scene, like cops are shooting at him like he's a duck, and they never make the sitting duck joke when they should have, but it happens. But I did think it was funny. Another nod to George Lucas's. They're flying and the engine blows out. And there's like fuel flying everywhere, and he just yells at Filzy to go up there and fix it, like he's R2. He's like, I don't give a shit, fix it. And he's like, okay. Like I thought that was pretty great. But that's gonna be that's my favorite scene, my favorite sequence anyway. It actually made sense.
Yeah. I think for me, just being such a fan of like the Marvel movies and the cinematic universe of it all, and I kept looking for ways. I was like, how could this movie connect back? You know, could this movie in some way be canon? And when they're describing, I think it's when they meet Dr. Jennings for the first time, and they're describing how Howard ended up on Earth, on our Earth, and they use the term a Nexus event, which like for us right now is like they used it all throughout Loki, and it's all about the multiverse. So I was like, I don't know, just like the use of that word Nexus, just really like I was like, oh, that's cool. Like now I almost felt like I was like seeing something that no one else is watching in the Marvel universe, you know? So
yeah. I caught that. Great catch, Coby. Great catch.
The duck egg.
Oh, not an Easter egg, a duck egg. I see what you did there. Hey. James?
My favorite is the opening, like 4 minutes, the introduction to Howard as well. First of all the duck puns, I counted maybe like 7 in just that opening scene alone. Plus just the view of the city with the 2 moons, which makes me believe that Duck World is a planet from Star Wars. But I mainly love the scene because it gives you all of the intro you need without having to do like any cheesy exposition. Like there's not a moment where it's like, yep, that's me, Howard. And like 4 minutes ago, I was having the time of my life. Like it doesn't do that. It gives you like through visual cues and like a bit of background dialogue, you know enough you need to know about who Howard is and where he comes from before everything hits the fan.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ernie, bring us home, brother.
Mine would be a tie. I would between the diner sequence at Joe Roma's Cajun Sushi and the concert at the end. And usually the concert at the end is because the song is great. It was a lot of fun and high energy. And usually of all the scenes most people I've spoken with, that's usually their most favorite or most memorable. The honorable mention, I made a concerted effort and had no intention of bringing it up when I interviewed Leah Thompson. The honorable mention goes to the seduction scene, pun intended.
Seduction.
Not the whole seduction scene. Just the scene where she's crawling on her bed.
The sexiest pair of $10 panties we ever seen in our goddamn life.
I'm like,
yes.
So
wait, you didn't ask her any questions about that?
He was being a professional, Brandon.
I was
You be professional and ask him, man. He's making a documentary. His damn job's to ask questions.
Honestly, that would be all I would be asking.
I ask questions, but you got to be very delicate about the questions you ask. I mean,
we know
this. What was wrong with it? It was rated PG. I thought this was fine. What was wrong with it?
I'd be like, what exactly did they
to
tell
address
you?
that, we do talk about it, but I do not sit there as like, oh my God, Miss Thompson, you would not believe when I was a teenager,
So
my
you
tongue was
weren't
hanging on the buttered popcorn floor when I saw that. Like I just
she had all the right moves.
She did
all the right moves.
Jesus, yeah.
But my God, this relationship, it defies all laws of nature.
It makes
bestiality. How dare you say that? Beauty and the Beast was already out. Fuck that.
That was very confusing for me as a kid because it's like, all right, there's a part of me that's aroused. There's another part of me that's
kind of creepy.
Am I into this?
Between this and Beauty and the Beast, and they wonder where bestiality comes from. Mr. Ed and all this other shit.
Bestiality.
Yeah.
Did you guys see? Did you guys see that? I mean, it's an old Disney movie called Brother Bear or Country Bear. No, the Country Bears.
Two different ones. Yeah, Country Bears. Yeah.
Country Bears. And I was, I grew up on that movie, and I feel like that movie and this movie just have so many parallels in terms of the live action. I don't even know. I think that was somebody in a suit also, and I think also like those lines got blurred where you're like, okay, this is like a human character, like he has a human family, but he's a bear, but he's in this world, and you don't know what to do, and it was all very, very strange.
Like
so there's going to be
a lot easier to wrap your head around than a humanoid duck.
Really?
Yeah, because we have body hair.
I'm glad you brought that up. Before we move on, I'm so glad you brought that up really quick. Really quick.
What else?
No, I'm glad you brought that up, Brandon.
Structurally, we are closer to bears than we are ducks.
Yeah, but if you're attracted to one and not the other, it doesn't really matter. Either one is appropriate.
It may not be appropriate, but if you think Howard is actually an alien, he's not from our planet. He's not a real duck. He just happens to be an alien who looks like a duck.
That's true. In Country Bears, they were just like alive for no reason. You're right.
For no reason.
It's true. They were just there. They were.
Since we're kind of off the rails, let me go all the way here. Brandon, you brought this up when you were saying about the duck. I made a segment that we didn't do. It's really quick, 30 seconds called, and you guys can add to the list if you want. Called Ducks I Fucks With. Thank you, fucker. Yes. Rubber Ducky, Handy Quack, Gizmo Duck, Scrooge McDuck, Affleck Duck, Duck Duck Goose Game, the Ducktail Brothers, Darkwing Duck, and every duck that ever died in the Nintendo game Duck Hunt. Bam.
What about the Mighty Ducks?
Fuck the Flying Bees.
Whoa.
I love them fucking around. Goldberg.
You picked a really weird time to bring that up. We were talking about bestiality. You're like, hold on, these are the ducks that I fucks with. you got these are the ducks that can get it.
All right, I'm worried about Royal.
I mean, it's very relevant conversation because of all that Lola Bunny controversy going on.
Thank you.
There's no controversy about that.
There's no controversy.
No debate.
There's no controversy.
Lola can get it.
Yeah, exactly. People liked how she was depicted before. They didn't like that she changed. I was like, whatever.
Either way.
Funny.
Oh wait, they made a second Space Jam?
Let's not talk about it.
Cool. Yeah. So I didn't miss anything. Perfect. Moving on.
All right. Yes. Let's move on. Let's get into the favorite quotes. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
You're gonna need a bigger boat. I'm gonna start this one off. I only have about. I'm gonna keep it at 3. I'm gonna make them very quick. These are very quick. These. It's really quick.
We're gonna run.
I know that's why I'm only doing 3. I'm gonna be very quick. Let's start with. Can you read my mind?
They know I'm a phony. They know I'm a yo-yo.
Love that fucking part right there. Another one was, hey, Howard, what's that in my bed?
Souvenirs?
Like he had jacked off and it came in feathers. Like apparently when he comes in feathers.
Why do you always take it so dark? It's just
it's just feathers. He sheds
Ernie, could you help Ernie a little help?
I didn't take it that way.
Ducks shed feathers.
This is coming from the.
Maybe when ducks get excited, they lose their feathers. So.
He's firmly under the belief that Mr. Clark from Lean on Me is a.
He had a relationship with that fucking girl.
He thinks
I don't care what you fucking say.
He thinks he's a sexual predator, and that was his baby.
I said deviant. I didn't say predator. And my last line is I really love this. That Howard the Duck says, "Oh, that's how it starts."
Police brutality.
Even his fucked up world, police brutality fucks up everyone's world. Bam.
Duck lives matter.
There we go. Thank you. Hello. All about the beaks, baby.
It's the crows that are getting in.
How you guys go?
I have two. I've kept it to two. The first one is a hoodlum that messes with Leah Thompson. He says,
I've been doing too much toot.
"Fly away!" Like, I never caught that as a kid. I didn't know what toot was. I still don't. I'm going to call it toot from now on.
Okay.
And then the other one is, "I'm not Jennings anymore."
The transformation is complete. I am now someone else.
I am now someone else.
That was your favorite line?
Yeah. I am now, because what's funny to me about that is that because I'm assuming that there are some limitations in effects, budget, whatever. So like if that was now, they would just show it that he's not Jennings anymore, that the transformation is complete, that he is now someone else. But because of like whatever, it's like we're not going to show anything. We're just going to have him say exposition. The transformation is complete. I am now someone else. They couldn't even be bothered to specify who that someone else was.
Like his characteristics and his like changed over time as well. Like that's one of the few things about this movie I actually liked was the fact that the progression of Jennings transforming into this other thing. And his voice
that's one of my favorite aspects as well.
Point. Hair's gone.
It's just a hilarious moment to me because it's so over explanatory. I am not Jennings anymore. The transformation is complete. I am now someone else. You just said the same thing 3 different ways in a row.
Yeah, but how would you really realistically show that even in today's standards? Would you actually just like show like a weird? How would you go about that?
I don't know. I'm not here to do that.
Right after he says that, they make a bunch of sex change.
Oh,
they're like, tell your insurance, or
that was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. The car shit.
To go with that with buddy.
That was good. That was good.
When he charges himself with the car lighter, I know that the tongue was coming out of his mouth.
Like the strain or some shit.
But in that moment, it was. Let's just say they cut that out of the version where in Europe or Germany, UK, they cut that out, and I can see why, because it's
sexual innuendo. You said
very hentai.
Yeah, you said it.
Jim Henson-esque.
But the funny thing, just to quickly touch on that, is the funny thing is the UK censors cut out that scene and the condom. They were okay with everything else.
Yeah.
The duct tits.
Yeah.
There you go.
Duct tits is fine.
The condom was just unhygienic. So I get that.
Well, not really. I thought about that too, but it's a rubber ducky. It's not unhygienic, Coby. It's technically. I get what you're saying. The wallet wasn't hygienic, so you're right. It's a nasty ass wallet. I give you that.
It's all like out there. I don't know.
It's dry. That was a dry ass condom. That was a dry ass condom too. It's dry.
Oh, ducky.
Who are we on? Who are we on for the favorite line? Who are we on?
Well, I think
I guess I'll go.
Okay, James. Oh no, James, go ahead. Go ahead, James.
My favorite was in the restaurant when Beverly says,
"How may be a duck, but you people are animals."
Leah Thompson has a lot of like really awkward and dumb lines like that, but the way she delivers it just so earnestly just makes it hilarious. And then the following, "He's my boyfriend," and everyone looks at her like, "That's disgusting."
And rightfully so. I mean,
it's 2021. Do what you want to do.
Who are we to judge?
As long as it's not illegal.
Yeah. I like all of Leah Thompson's little
Her little Miss Piggy act, like, "Been so long, ducky."
Yeah.
I like
talk about music lovers.
When there's so many scenes where Howard is just getting like tossed around by random, group mobs of people. But there's one where he ends up in like a pool bar, and they're like tossing him down the bar, and one of the random like bullies is like, "Mallard in the side pocket." This guy doesn't know what a mallard is. Like, I don't even know what a mallard is. Like, no one would know that. Like, I feel like they were just stretching themselves to like find synonyms to just not have to use the word duck 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's just crazy. This guy would not say that.
Just
crazy bad.
After Howard defeats the manager and gets the money and he goes to the back, And then that's when Filzy comes back in again for the first time since I think we met him already. And
oh, I know.
And she's like pulling him away, and like they're going somewhere, and there's a scene, like something's happening in the scene. He's just like,
Phil. No sex now. I'm working.
and I thought that was a really great line from Filzy. That was one of my favorites because it was just like that actually felt genuine. Yeah. Okay.
That is a quote I will use in my day-to-day life.
Brandon,
No sex tonight. I'm working.
Brandon, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder because in that same scene, he said it right after that. Did you hear him say,
Hi, sorry I missed the show. I came to watch you undress, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's when he first walked in.
That was slick.
crazy.
I didn't even know. Did they ever explain how he knew them? Like why they were friends?
He
with
was
him?
dating one of the band members.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's
crazy.
Yeah.
I missed that.
My second one was, I guess, right after Coby's, where it was like
Space rabies. One bite, and it's agonizing death in 15 seconds.
I can get behind this. This is that.
Yeah.
One way of doing it.
Space rabies.
For me, I have a couple. I would. The first one that came to mind is
Hostility is like a psychic boomerang.
that was the waitress who said that. But she was great.
Yeah.
Another one is
She took my eggs.
people are like, what? It's like if you know, you know.
I like after he gets his feather.
Like
after he gets his feather pulled from what's his name? He's like, "Is that, are you okay, Ducky? It's just my pride."
He saw those eggs in that restaurant. He went crazy.
I thought that was pretty funny overall. But yeah,
Awesome.
she took my eggs line. That's a really good one.
All right, we're gonna go into scene stealers. Brief recap on the first episode. We covered.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Joker.
Yeah, we covered Joker, and of course, Joaquin Phoenix went on the board.
Correct.
Second episode, we covered The Invention of Lion, and Miss Jennifer Garner made the board.
Correct.
Here we are with Howard the Duck. We'll see who joins those two for season 3. I'll begin. I have an honorable mention. Is it Ernie? I believe you talked to him. I think is it Chip Zine or Chip Zine?
Chip Zine. Have not talked to him yet. We're still trying to get him.
Okay. My honorable mention goes to Chip Zine because his performance worked so well with the writing. I don't give him the Scene Stealer Award because I feel like his performance came sort of out of necessity due to the restrictions in the animatronics. So it was kind of it kind of forced the dry performance that he gave that meshed really well with the writing. But so my Scene Stealer is this is a classic case of separating the art from the artist. I have to give it to Jeffrey Jones because, like I said before, out of all the human actors in the movie, he's the one that really seemed to capture the tone of what the script was going for as far as the dry comedy. He felt fitting. Aside from Howard, he was always the character that stuck with me. Like when I think back, even the movie as a memory that I hadn't seen in 2 decades, I can always. I could always see the moments with him. Like it just really stood out as a character. Same thing for him in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mean, he was a really, really great character actor. And the one smog inspection. He was just a very good villain.
For me, you mentioned this name earlier, and this is the first time I've actually done this. What we typically try to do with these films, we don't like to go with the lead actor or actress because it seems so blasé just to do it. But I have to go with Chip, and because to me, you're constricted by so much in this film. You're not in the Duck. Of course, we got Ed Gale that's in the Duck, and a couple other characters that did it. But what Chip did. Like I said, hey, we can't get Robin Williams, but we need you to do this. The fact that I even knew Robin Williams was even considered for the part put so much pressure. And to me, I know Seth Green's doing a killer fucking job right now, but for the 80s, his banter held up throughout the years. And to me, that's a sign. And I have to give it to him because there were so many things that could have been better with this film, but I wouldn't replace the guy that voiced him. It was contrite. You believed it. He had to make the emotions of the Duck throughout the film, so I got to give it to Chip.
Well, and he got called last minute too, right?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Ernie, is that correct? He was like the last.
There are different stories. It's kind of like whoever you want to believe.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well that's mine. So guys, feel free, James or Coby or Brandon, whoever wants to go first.
I mean, there aren't that many actors to choose from, so
they're not.
I think you guys. You guys spoke
to
for the rest of it. You know,
it's okay to agree with one of us. That'll help us. That'll help us decide who goes on the board at the end of the day. So we got Chip and we got Jeffrey. But feel free.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like you said, you try to avoid the main characters, and there's just so few characters, which is nice. I think sometimes movies today are just so full of actors, and you're just like, and cameos. But I just thought Leah Thompson really, she made it believable. And I know it's different now. Like in a CGI world, they would be acting with nobody, and I think it would have been even more impressive in that instance. But she really sold it. You really felt the connection between her and Howard. And as funny or silly as the romantic undertones are, or overtones, I really felt like they were friends. Like she was an outcast and she befriended this alien. And it felt like it made sense between the two of them.
I feel like we watched two different movies.
Oh my God. I was about to ask you if you've been here the whole time we've been talking about the film.
Oh, I've been here.
The best romantic drama of the century.
She sold it for me.
Modern day Romeo and Juliet, if you will.
I'm going to elaborate. I'll elaborate more towards the end, but I definitely, the first half of this movie, I'm not going to lie, like I was enjoying it. I really was. Yeah. And the second half,
only way their relationship resembles Romeo and Juliet is it makes me want to suicide myself watching.
Othello.
Watching it play out. I'll get into that in the review as well because
I said he heard me. Brandon heard me. All right, so Brandon, since you heard me, go ahead, sir.
I'm gonna have to get to Jeffrey Jones.
Everybody's got to say that with a smile.
Well, no, out of all of them, he made the most sense.
He
tried to carry it, but you can't really. Yeah, there was too many other fucked up things about it. So
he did. Yeah, he killed it though. You can tell he was having fun with it.
There were points in time where I thought he wasn't doing it like that good of a job, but he only comes in like towards the second half. So it's kind of like the first half. I think Coby's very wrong about everything. The first half sucked, and the second half was decent. And I thought Leah Thompson was probably the worst actor.
And she's a good actress.
And
that's
she is. She's very good. Like, so it was just like, and you look at her, like, she was just young.
I chose her.
Blame it on youth.
Nice.
I'm gonna hard veto Leah Thompson on that one.
No, we're not there yet. Hold on, Ernie's having spoken.
I'm just letting you know. I'm already throwing the hard veto.
Oh my gosh! Go ahead.
Is it my turn now?
Yes, sir.
All right. If I had to go with the main cast, I would be with Jeffrey. He, out of all of them, had to bring three, like as I mentioned before, three different personalities, oftentimes at the same time, and switch on a dime and gradually change as it progresses. But if I had my personal choice as to I think was the scene stealer of the movie, it would have to look up her name, would be Jorlee McLean. She was the waitress at Joe Rogan.
The young one?
The young waitress, the one who hostility is a karmic boomerang.
Yeah. She's like, Halloween wasn't until next month.
Yeah.
I love how that's what tipped her off.
Yeah. She was great because she's like a waitress at this truck stop who's seen it all, and all this duck and this weirdo and this young woman is like, yeah, this is nothing. This is whatever. And I thought she was fantastic. And consistently of the people I've spoken with who work the diner scene, they all have high praise for her. And unfortunately, she's passed, so we weren't able to talk with her. So she was definitely someone we immediately wanted to talk to when we had the idea of doing this doc. So, but I had to go with her.
She was definitely a highlight for me too.
That was one of those characters that at their core they knew, like, they're just like, I'm just doing my job, man. Like,
yeah,
that was kind of like the that's the character at their core, was that like, I just work here. I don't know, man. And I was just like, I like this character. So
she was definitely good.
That's a very good choice.
For such a small part, she did stand out, and you take the most of it.
Definitely did. And now I'm going to say something. Jeffrey Jones thought he'd never hear again.
Wait! I don't think we asked James.
Oh, we didn't ask. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You're so rude.
James,
I am. Sorry, James. James, bring me home.
It's on you.
So as amazing as he was, my ethics mean that I could not choose Jeffrey Jones.
Thanks. So we're
I'm not judging you guys. I'm not judging you guys, but like
implicitly you are.
I mean, he was hilarious, but he's not my number one. My number one would have to give it to Chip Zien. Leah Thompson was my honorable mention, as I said in quotes, favorite quotes. She just has so many like terrible lines that she just delivers with such like sincerity that just make them hilarious. But the guy behind Howard, like the dry delivery is what makes him so much fun to watch. And a lot of the times with his lines, it almost seems like he's riffing his own movie. Like all this snarky remarks like, oh, Jesus, here we go again. Like stuff like that is just funny for me. So that's why I picked him.
So we're at an impasse here. So we got Jeffrey Jones has 2. We also have Chip has 2. I would like to say something so I agree. You heard me. Chip was good. He was my honorable mention. But all Chip had to do was go into a booth. And like Ernie said, Jeffrey Jones had to carry essentially 3 characters live action, and
by his damn self.
He got 1 honorable mention, and let's be honest here. As far as, at least to the best of my knowledge, I was trying to Google it really quick, but I know what he did was heinous. But at the end of the day,
easy boy.
What did he do?
All right.
This is a subject for another time.
Okay, y'all are going to tell me after we wrap this, because I honestly have no idea.
Be careful with that word, because
I don't want to get you guys demonetized. I'm sorry.
In 2003, the actor was arrested for possession of child pornography for hiring a 14-year-old boy to pose for lewd photographs. All I'm saying is victimless crime.
I was a victim.
Oh, he hired him. He didn't get him.
If I hire somebody to kill somebody, I'm still a part of a murder. And with that being said,
wait. Hold on. Now you can't just what that's being said.
I mean, he has a point though. If you hire,
however, from what I understand is he was the son of someone Jeffrey personally knew.
Okay,
so makes it weirder.
Let's forget about Jeffrey Jones. Let's talk about Jennings. Okay, he was the highlight of the film. Let's put Jennings on the board. Jeffrey Jones. Jones.
I don't think I think everybody for Jeffrey, raise your hand. Oh, there's your answer, Chip. Chip, they just voted. What do you?
So that's by default.
Yes, 3-2. Do the math. They did the math when they sentenced him to time. And with that being said,
I'm just going to say I'll concede to that, but we had a chance to do something innovative here and really controversial.
Yeah, put him back on the internet where he doesn't belong. Yeah.
Damn. Well, all right.
Well, you can fight forest fires, guys.
What are we even talking about here?
Congratulations, Chip Zien. You beat about it.
Thank you.
The bar's really high there, bud.
Yeah.
Thanks for using your voice to speak up for things that are wrong in the world, Chip. All right.
Now, Brandon, was that a short joke that you just made at the expense of Chip Zien?
Unintentionally. That was unintentional.
Brandon, are you
I guess. No, that was an honest. Like that was unintentional.
In all seriousness, no, I agree. Chip, I mean, he is Howard the Duck, and he nailed it as far as the noir feeling, the dry performance. I'm happy with it.
Okay, so, welcome to the board. Good job.
It is time for Cast Crew Review. This is going to be a very different kind of segment of Cast Crew Review. It's going to be kind of a mashup of everybody that we talked to from the movie. Those people including Marty, Brenneis, special effects, Miles Chapin, who played Carter in the film. He was also the duck coach, essentially an assistant director. Actors, Reed Kirk Rahlmann, the dude that gets Howard thrown on him. That's my date. Stephen Kravitz, the dude that threatens Howard with a picket sign after he's interrupted from making out with his girl in the alley. And Martin Ganapoler, the pie-faced guy and the pie-faced trucker in the diner scene. We're going to get into that right now.
This is supposed to be the big reveal.
Oh man!
Nice.
Oh, there we go.
And thank you very much for putting on your best human impression, Mr. Droid, to be with us, Mr. Marty. Brenneis, right?
No, Brenneis, like tennis.
Brenneis. I said it was Brenneis. Thank you for being here, Mr. Miles.
Hey, my pleasure.
Martin, thank you very much for being here today.
You are welcome. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today, Reed.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, because who the fuck knows what a duck coach is? You know, I mean,
didn't know.
You know, it's crazy.
Now we do, and we're all better for it. Stephen Kravitz, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, honestly, you are the first people that want to talk about Howard the Duck.
How did you dig up Howard the Duck?
They called me and they said, "We need your help." And I said, "What for?" "Well, they gave us the green light for Howard the Duck." And I said, "What, are you kidding me?" Let me show you this. I'm going to go into my file. Literally, this is my Howard the Duck file. And I haven't opened this in years.
I love the idea that you're getting into Howard the Duck. It's such a weird, it has become cult status.
Yeah. If we didn't do it, no one else was going to do it. So we're the only people equipped to bring this back up.
Yeah.
You guys really did your homework, too. I got to say, I'm very impressed with all this scratching around you did. It's great.
How did you end up getting the role in Howard the Duck?
You know, I wish I could answer that truthfully, but I have no idea.
But here's a picture that kind of, this is what I did on Howard the Duck, okay? There's me talking to Ed Gale. You see, I got the script in my hand, and I've got the headphones on.
Emilio Estevez ain't got shit on you. You're the real duck coach, all right? I'll tell you that right now.
Thank you.
Well, of course, this was a very, coveted role. First trucker. Many people competed for that.
The only thing I remember, it was a night shoot. And I got to make out with a very pretty girl.
I actually took a pie in the face from the duck. Now, if you're doing comedy and you haven't taken a pie in the face, you really haven't been there yet.
Right.
I was spending a lot of time in LA at that time, and Gloria and Willard became very close friends of mine. And all during the writing of Howard the Duck, it was, I can't believe you're writing a movie of Howard the Duck. I mean, it was just, the idea was just so mind-boggling.
Yeah. I guess the casting people liked me, and I looked like the right type, and so it really wasn't a big deal. They just said, "Yeah, you're cast. You got the part." And I was thrilled.
It was weird because people would come to the set, and I got a plenty healthy ego, but I don't need to have it stroked all the time. So like I'd be off in the corner and I'd be doing my thing like this, and I'd be talking to these people. So obviously, I would say Willard and he would say what? And I would come over I would get everybody's attention if I needed it. So like when the guy from Rolling Stone came, he finally pulled me aside and he said, "Excuse me, I've got to ask you this question. Who the fuck are you?" And I said, "Well,
I'm the duck coach, bitch."
I should have said that.
Yeah, there you go.
When you are all that you guys do is you're making out. That's like the beginning and end of your interaction.
Oh, and I slipped it in the tongue. Thank you very much.
There you go. Ew.
My stuff was all in the visual effects world, except on Howard the Duck. On the Duck movie, I actually got to go work in the practical effects world. Initially at ILM, I was given the task of doing the radio control system.
Mm-hmm.
They came to me and said, "We want the principal character of this movie to be a radio-controlled puppet." And I went, "You're knucking futz."
Yes. You played Bender. And this is one of the first humans that Howard encounters. In fact, he's thrust upon you by the goons in the alley.
Wait, that's my date.
Yeah,
that's my date.
Working with Willard and Gloria, these guys, this was sort of a vanity project for them because I think they had written one of the Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So basically, they're like, "Okay, guys, you can do whatever you want."
Bob McDonald Jr., who was the effects supervisor, he said, "Great, I need a guy that can program in Z80 microcode direct machine language." And what he hadn't factored in was it's in San Francisco with people from Silicon Valley. Hi there. I'm trained. I have an electronics technology degree. And yes, I program Z80 microcontrollers in machine language in my head. What would you like?
It was exciting because this was a George Lucas production.
And they said, no, George is on board as executive producer, and the studio said, yes, but we have to get it ready for Christmas. I think it was 87. So we have 15 months to get this movie made.
All I remember is shooting my scene, basically, and being very anxious because it was my first speaking role. It was my first role, you know what I mean? And I was lucky enough to get a speaking part.
I was able to design a system. I dismantled some RC control systems and repackaged them. So they had inputs, I called it the Duck Master, so they could make custom control thingies that plugged in, and so they could have custom manipulators.
And after about a week or two, I went back to them and I said, guys, listen, you've got puppeteers working over here doing a puppet, and you've got these dwarfs over here that are being fitted for all these suits. You've got these creature makers that are making these mechanisms to make this duck bill move, but you've got nobody playing a character here. And this script has got, I mean, he's in every scene, he's got every funny line, and there's nobody minding the store. And they said, yeah, that's a good point. And I said, so that's what you need. And they said, great, that's what you do.
We were all thinking, when this is a hit, we will have an open career path. So it was pretty exciting.
I go from an exterior shot to an interior shot. And the exterior was shot, I believe, in November. And it was shot in the South of Market neighborhood of San Francisco, which at the time was just warehouses and rundown buildings and light industry. And then the interior was going to be shot later, possibly even a couple months later.
I had about 4 weeks of pre-production, and then I was on every single day of production of that movie.
I was there for a little over 3 weeks.
Wow.
It was a long shoot.
So by the time the interior shot comes around, the production is kind of, as near as I can tell, like not really in control much anyway. It's not going smoothly.
Over time, and you see what's happening on the set, and you watch the dailies, and it's just like this, you kind of realize, oh my God, this could be like, a real stinker. But you gotta get out of bed in the morning. So how do you do that? You gotta find something to hang on to. It's sort of like the cliche of actors having to love their characters, You gotta find something to pin your coat on with the character, and you gotta find something to get you out of bed in the morning. I was prepared for the worst. I really was.
They were pretty insulated in terms of, is this any good?
I want everybody for an hour every other morning in a room together. Why? Well, I don't know. We got to get to know each other. We got to get to know Howard. So I started showing them Honeymooners episodes, Ralph Cramden. And I said, okay, guys, this is Howard the Duck.
I did a system where I could remote the transmitter on a cable and place the transmitter under the set, or they could place the transmitter within, a few meters of the duck, so that there was for sure a good, strong signal. Mm-hmm. And they didn't lose any production time due to radio failures.
We had tremendous technical problems because that was right at the end of the era of practical effects. In fact, while we were shooting at ILM, they were doing what I believe is the first CGI in any major picture, which was the young Sherlock Holmes, that sequence with the stained glass window, which took them like 6 months.
And so I was sent over and switched from ILM to working with production in his team. I actually did way more than the guy he was going to bring up. The guy he was bringing up was a programmer type and not much of an electronics person. And he had this thing called Deagle Duck, which was a programmable pneumatic operated stunt duck. So when Howard falls off the roof and lands in the dumpster, that's the Deagle Duck. And it's flailing as it's going down.
We had hand puppets, close-up puppets. We had dwarves in suits with radio-controlled heads. We had stunt dwarfs. I mean, it was all over the place, but it took a lot of time.
I go into the Mabuhay, and as I walk in, Gloria Katz is coming out. She's walking out, and she has this expression on her face like her life is a wool sweater being slowly unraveled by some nail behind her. She's just like walking through, and she kind of gives me this glance and hustles by. I'm like, all right.
Those of us who were there noticed that there was kind of like, a guy in a rubber suit. I mean, is this really working? Is this concept even accessible? Is Is it funny? Is it dramatic? Is it sci-fi? What is it?
I think that's the big dilemma with the original, is that there was like a push and pull between the creatives and the suits, where some people wanted to go dark with it and pay honor to the comics, while the suits wanted to make sure they were able to sell toys. And then so we got this weird hybrid of sex jokes.
He smoked cigarettes. You can't fucking sell toys of adult that smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
Well, in front of me, probably about 20 feet, there is George Lucas, and I'm guessing the cinematographer or a lighting director, somebody. Because George was only, like, he, you know, and you guys would know this better than I do. You know, he was executive producing. He wasn't really supposed to be hands-on with this. This was Willard and Gloria's deal. And so he's on set, and he's talking to some light. Like I said, I don't know who it was, but they're standing there, and George, like, you know, he's, you know, and then this other guy's like, okay, well, you know, they're obviously talking about setting up the shot and then what to do next and whatever. Over to my left, their right, Willard is standing, and he's probably 10 feet away, and he's just standing looking. And as George and this guy, you know, they're talking, you know, what about this? Willard says something. Where he's standing, he like says something. And George turns and just gives him this look of death, like I have never seen before. Just stares at him. Willard stands there, and then George turns back to this guy, and they start talking, and then things continue.
He got blamed. You know, he was the fall guy. You know, I mean, George Lucas was untouchable, so somebody's got to, you know, shovel the shit, right, or have the shit shoveled on him, and that's Willard. You know.
At that point, I had no experience, so I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? I was just told what they wanted from me, and I gave it to them.
So there was kind of an overtone of feeling, you know, as a youngish actor on set. I just, you know, did my job and got all excited and looked at it as a challenge and thought, hey, these guys know what they're doing. I'm just this newbie, you know, let them have at it.
Apparently a lot happens in post-production, and it's going to be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
We were having fun. It was a fun movie. I kind of figured it might not fly as well. You know, part of the thing I didn't like was how cartoonish the duck. We had a much better duck early on.
I thought they didn't portray Howard the Duck in the light that I'd known him from the comic. I'm a big comic book fan.
You know, it's a character, and so you got to actors know characters and know how to play comedy. And we were very limited with how fast we could speak, because it was the, you know, the speed of that little motor, because all those motors could do is turn one way or the other way, because it's adoptive technology from model airplanes, these little things. So all the mechanisms making the eyeball move had to be reduced from a little motor the size of a matchbox doing this or that.
That man. Yeah, see, our first interaction with Howard the Duck, it came out when we were 3 years old. I think I saw it when I was like 6 or 7. My introduction to Howard the Duck was the film, not the comic. So it holds a special place in our hearts, as far as like, we look back at it fondly.
So, you know, movie crew arrives at a set, you know, the director and the photographer, they want to go and like block out the scene, you know, and I would go, because it took like an hour or two for Ed Gale to put on the suit, right? And so I'd go and I'd sort of be Howard, and Willard would say, okay, no, so Howard comes running down this staircase, and then he spins around and goes over here. And I'd say, well, that's great, except he can't run, because Ed inside the suit can't see outside. He can only see out the bill when the bill is open.
Now I'm doing the second part where I am being thrust into the club. And
then Ed had a little thing in his ear that the main puppeteer, Tim Rose, was operating the beak, and he was in the next room, and it was all radio control. We had a whole duck unit. We had our own slave cameras, and we had our own communication system, so that Ed was hearing the lines, and he was kind of miming while this was going on. But he was sweating inside that suit, and so the eyeballs would completely fog up, and literally he could only see out of the beak.
My shot, I am getting Howard. I am being thrust backwards and while holding Howard, and then he gets handed off. Well, there's all these cables lying around. There's all and so we do a rehearsal, and I'm stumbling over my heels.
Can you see this picture?
Yeah.
That's Ed Gale's mouth inside the Howard the Duck.
So we do a take, and they thrust Howard into my hands, and I'm being pushed backwards, and I trip over one of the cables. And my first thought is, save the duck. And I fall back, I'm falling backwards, and I'm hoping I'm gonna land on my butt, but I'm also like, I've got to cushion Howard. And as I'm falling backwards, I look through the mouth of the costume, and I see these huge, terrified eyes staring at me as I'm falling backwards. And it's like, and so I managed to fall really well. I cushion him. He doesn't hit anything. He's okay. And when I hit the ground, these crew members come running over, and they grab Howard, and they go, "Are you okay? You okay? You okay?" And they just leave me lying there, and I'm like, I'm okay.
So this is a piece of paper dated February 17th, 1986. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of people that screen tested for the voice of Howard the Duck.
Wow.
And some of them were people that I suggested, and we brought them up to the set. And some of them were people that casting people did. I mean, on the first page is people already tested by Lucasfilm. Martin Short, John Biner, Jay Leno, Joe Regal Budo, Robert Picardo, Robin Williams, Ernie Facilius, Mike Pritchard, Howie Mandel, he was one of my ideas, Kevin Pollak, John Lithgow, another one of my ideas, Chip Zien, Jeff Goldblum, Eugene Levy. And some of these guys like Jeff Goldblum, Jay Leno, and Robin, they came to the set, and I showed them around and showed them all the tricks. And Robin just talks too fast. It just couldn't make it. It just, you know. But in his screen test, he did some improvs, which kind of ended up in the movie, I've got to say.
Really?
Yeah, that line about get ready to eat beak. That's a Robin Williams improv right there. Yeah. So there was one night on the set where it was a really stormy night in San Francisco. And, you know, when it gets rainy and stormy in the Bay Area, it's really rainy and stormy, too. And tensions were rising high because we had the set of Beverly's apartment, her kind of loft, you know. But the trouble was the rain was so loud that the sound crew was picking it up. So we were losing a lot of time. And Willard was getting really hot under the collar, okay? And so, like I said before, you know, we all the duck people had these earwigs, and we could talk to each other. I had a little microphone, you know. I've got pictures of that too. And all of a sudden, I saw Howard, because we would shut Howard down in between takes to save the batteries. So all of a sudden, I saw the face just going like this, and I'm like, what's going on? What is going on back there? And then I heard this voice, oh, Earth to Howard, like this, and it was Robin. Had like found his way onto the set, gone back to where the puppeteers were, and was just like playing. You know, he had the slave camera and he was making the mouth go, and he's like talking into the mic. It's like Wizard of Oz. It's like, you know, somebody stumbling in past the curtain and going, oh, look, I can make the smoke machine work. And I was like, not now, Robin, shut the fuck up, please. We're having a meltdown here. No, not now. You know, because he would drop by, but that was just one of those like, holy shit, if we survive this, you know, we're gonna get stripes on our sleeve or something, you know, so.
Wow.
Any story that ends with Robin, shut the fuck up.
And he had free reign on the set. He used to come around a lot and stuff, but that night was just like, and as you say, who gets to say shut the fuck up to Robin Williams?
Everett Creech is this old stunt coordinator who's like, from Westerns and stuff like that. He comes up and he, you know, throws his arm around me. He's like, kid, we're gonna have you do some stunt work here. Are you up for that? And I was like, yeah, sure. You don't say no. You're like, yeah, give it to me. I want stunt work. He throws me in with the stunt crew, right? So all these old grizzled stunt performers and coordinators and stuff like that. And while you're waiting with these guys, they're like, hey, you want to play liar's poker? And I was like, sure, what's that? And they're like, oh, great. You have any single dollar bills on you? I was like, sure, I got a few in my pocket here. So they're teaching me how to play liar's poker. And I keep losing. I'm like, how the fuck? Why am I losing dollar after dollar to these stunt guys? And it turns out it's kind of a thing that they do with newbies. They bring dollars that already have a lot of winning numbers. So they know they have stacked the odds, and they're just waiting for some chump like me to come along and to take me for every single dollar bill I have. That's really a great memory for me, was being initiated by these guys.
Right in the beginning, there's a scene, or there was one of the first days we shot in the museum when they take Howard to the museum, and there's Dr. Chapin is in that, and the guy has a lab coat and it says Dr. Chapin. I forget. I think it may be Tommy Swerdlow's character is Dr. Chapin.
It's nothing. It's nothing. Never mind. Carry on, Dr. Chapin.
And Phil Blumbert. Who Tim Robbins' character, that's a mutual friend of Gloria Willard's and mine, a guy named Phil Blumberg, and we're still friends. And they sneak that name into all their movies. In the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, when they're at the table eating the monkey brains, and there's that British colonel, that's Colonel Blumbert.
They built this set, this cafe, and they built it on a gimbal so that they could tilt it. And all of the stuff in the set would rush to one wall, because when the Dark Overlord guy was doing his thing, I'd never been on anything like that before.
And this was, you can see a tape here, it says The Dangler, because the airplane was dangling from here and the cameras were kind of strapped in there, and this was, the Hardys.
But there were a lot of things in there of like crashing the ultralight, modifying a crane truck to put the ultralight out on the end of it. And that was one where the machinist that made the prop, he machined this prop to go on the shaft. And this was one of our high precision machinists. And he didn't understand about occasionally you don't need so much precision. And this thing fit on the shaft very nicely, beautifully, perfectly machined. But when you're holding a 10 kilo thing out and you're reaching out to get it onto this shaft, and it's this tall and the shaft's big around, and it has to be lined up absolutely perfectly to slide on. That's where you realize you don't need that much precision. You want some slop in there so you can get the
little slack. Give me a little slack there.
That's true. Wow. But he was eating his own dog food.
Those guys are hot dogs. And the stunt pilot who drove his own helicopter to the set every day, he would do like 360s in the helicopter when he left, eat my dust kind of thing.
One of the people on his crew was somebody that I was like, oh, you're cool, was his dad, Bob McDonald Sr., who was a practical effects guy on one of my all-time favorite films, The Wizard of Oz.
The cafe scene that I was in was actually a Cajun sushi restaurant. And somewhere in my archives, in a plastic box somewhere, I still have the menu from the Howard the Duck Cajun sushi place. It's an obscure little trivia fact, but if you look carefully in that scene, you will see somehow an identification that it's Cajun sushi, which is actually kind of pretty ahead of its time if you think about it.
Then one of the big things I built was the neutron gun. I did the strobe sequence in that, timed with the shutter. Well, one of the things about Howard the Duck, it was one of the very first movies to record the video tap. They had a camera on the viewfinder of the film camera. And so that's called a video tap. And they got this idea of sending that over to a person with some 3/4 inch decks, and they would record that so that then the director could play it back and see on set what the scene was like.
Nice.
Well, what that got was the viewfinder stuff. And so the first time they fire off the neutron disintegrator gun, they look at the video back and they don't see any strobes in it. And they come to me all panicked. And I'm like, cool, that means it worked. Huh?
That's awesome.
Willard's hanging in there, and he's still living. I mean, Gloria left us about a year and a half ago, and Willard sold his house and moved into an apartment in Beverly Hills. He's got a new girlfriend, and he's writing. He keeps writing, you know, and I think he's more at home as a writer than he is with on a set. And when you get to know him, and then you see like in American Graffiti, there's a moment where Charlie Martin Smith, somebody, and he's like bullshitting this girl, and he goes, hunting, yeah, I'm going hunting this weekend. And he goes, hunting? You mean you're like killing defenseless animals? And he's nonplussed. He goes, well, bears. I mean, I thought bears would be okay. You know, that is so Willard Hike, you know. And when he lets the fart rip in the car and somebody goes, ooh, cut the cheese, that is so Willard Hike. And if you know him, you see those moments, you know. But that's, you know, it's like with any writer, especially a comedy writer, you know, when you get to know the personality, it's like, well, you see
signature.
them. Yeah,
you could see it.
Well, I think my favorite part was falling backwards with the human in the Howard costume.
I had fun working on it because I did pneumatic doors, I did hydraulics, I worked on the hydraulic system for the thing where he goes flying through all the walls.
For me, the experience of being in the Bay Area for 9 months and getting paid enough money that on the day off I had a week, I could basically, you know, go to any restaurant I wanted and pick up the check for 6 people, you know, and get my car fixed was just like brilliant.
And wound up scuba diving as a rescue diver in the Fireman's Fund fountain when we crashed the ultralight.
Well, I mean, it was really an amazing experience for me.
I spent 6 weeks in the submarine bay in Hunters Point, tying up Leah Thompson. It was freezing in there. It was 32 degrees.
This is me on the second unit. Me and Tom Wright, who was the second unit director. This is the cast and crew photograph. This is Duck World, the miniature Duck World in the opening. But this is
Quiet.
Me and Ed, you know, there we are in the doctor's office.
So good.
You know, here I am hiding in the shadows with my little microphone, you know, trying to stay out of the way. Yeah. There's me and Howard, and that's Willard. And we're at the Kitty Land, which I think is where they find the airplane, which was in the lower Napa Valley down in Carneros. Oh, here's me and Willard just kind of laughing and scratching together.
It was just such a weird thing to do, you know, was be involved in this thing with this guy in a duck suit.
It was real quick. It was an experience that was fulfilling.
There is a shit ton of money spent on movies, on making films. And it doesn't matter if it's a piece of crap movie or it's a magnificently realized piece of art. The money that goes into it means that everybody who's there is doing their level professional best. They're bringing their A game, and it doesn't matter. So if you're making a movie, you don't waste anybody's time. You don't waste anybody's money. It's not an option for you. And I think that's the biggest lesson as a movie actor that you can bring to the set.
Howard the Duck got mixed reviews. Some loathed it, and actually some loved it. When you saw it for the first time, what was your reaction?
I didn't care for it.
This is the first review that I saw in a San Francisco paper, okay, the date book. This is a Gerald Nachman at the movies. It's also the only review that mentions me. So I have that in here. It says, I'm someone credited as the duck coach, and then in parentheses it says Miles Chapin, who did a yeoman job.
I noticed in the questions you sent me, you know, I was in Leonard Part 6. So if I had been in Ishtar, I would have had a trifecta of the 3 worst movies of that era. You know, so I was that close to nailing it.
And then my brother Ted came to see it at a screening. And I think it was when that Jeffrey's character, and the tongue comes out and goes into the light socket, and my brother turned to me and he said, "My daughter is not going to see this movie." And I thought, okay, this is something here.
There were parts I liked, but it did not capture the spirit of the comic book, because the comic book, you know, as you know, Howard is very acerbic and he's just dealing with stuff. As the theme goes, he's trapped in a world he never made. So he's just dealing.
Because the character in the comic book is so cool, and I don't think we did full justice to it. And it's a great character, but you need something. You need CGI. I mean, CGI can do it because that duck's got to be propulsive. He's got to propel every single scene. He's got to be explosive. He's got to be hilarious. And you know, I don't think we fulfilled the prophecy. You know, I mean, I don't think we didn't do it.
How did it feel to see Howard the Screen get his respect paid in Avengers Endgame?
Yeah, how about that, huh? He had a little cameo there.
Just a little cameo. I was like, I rewatched that scene 30 times. Like, look at little Howard. After all these years, he finally made it.
That was a great cameo for him. That was
great cameo.
That set up the stage for them to do a reboot of Howard the Duck.
Yes.
Now that, you know, CGI has advanced so much, obviously do CGI.
If I was to remake Howard the Duck, I would make it grittier. I would make it darker.
Make him look more like the comic book character. You know, get somebody there who really understands what the writer was going for, that he's, you know, he's acerbic, he's confused, he's completely out of his element. He wants to get back home, but you know, somehow he's thrust to all these adventures. I mean, I remember one of them was Hell Cow, the vampire cow that he had to deal with. So focus more on, you know, really, you know, getting his character and what he's going through, and give him an edge, because he was an edgy character, and I think the other Marvel characters would have a great time with him.
Well, no, I mean, we'll see where this goes. There's this crazy Howard the Duck energy right now. It's funny because when the principal photography ended, it was midsummer, and I went to Martha's Vineyard with some friends. And Martha's Vineyard, it was like a pretty high-powered party I was in at Martha's Vineyard. There's, you know, a lot of, you know, I don't need to tell you who goes to, I mean, Barack Obama's there now, right? So I'm telling stories. People said, well, you know, where have you been? In California, working on Howard the Duck like this. And I started telling these stories, and it was like everybody was, oh my God. And one of the editors of Time magazine came over and he said, listen, would you like to write this for the magazine? And I said, well, no, I don't really think. And then somebody else came over and he said, you know, I'm at Random House. Would you like a book deal? Because we'd like to hear about it. And I said, like, guys, if I write this book, I'll never work in Hollywood again. And like, I'll burn every bridge, you know, because I was fresh off of it and just like, you know, I really needed to shake it off because it was a very intense experience, you know, and then having it be as much of a stinker as it was. I mean, look at my movie career never really sort of, Milosh was the only person who kind of would hire me after that, you know, and it was funny. That was when I began to write. And I mean, that was why I started writing, was I wanted to take more control of my own creative life a little bit, you know, so, you know, it's just funny. It's just the path that people's careers go in, you know.
Thank you again,
Marty. It's been a pleasure.
You've done so many amazing things, and hopefully our paths will cross again. We would love to talk to you for another hour and a half.
If you're ever in the Santa Fe area, let me know, and I can show you the studio. I live here.
I never know. He said it now.
Fantastic.
We gotta go.
We'll see you tomorrow, Marty.
Wow, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking time. Like the stories. Listen, I will never let anybody talk bad about Duck Hopkins for the rest of my life. You are the Duck.
Many people talking bad about Duck Hopkins?
No, but they won't be. Not on my watch.
Hey, thank you guys. I really had a good time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Be safe and peace and love to your family. Thank you.
Thanks. You too.
Have a good rest of your weekend.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much again. Be safe out there. If you need anything, let us know. We'll be talking to you soon, okay?
Cool. Will do. Take care, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Have a fabulous weekend and continued success with the podcast.
Thank you.
I think it's gonna continue to be big fun. I think that you've hit on something here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right.
All the best, sir. Have a good weekend.
You too. Take care.
Want to give a big thank you to the guests from the film that gave their time to give us some insight into this wacky production that was Howard the Duck.
It's fun.
With all that said, it is time to review this very special, interesting, unique gem of a film. We're going to start with what we would change, and then we'll go into the review. We give it a 1 out of 5 fucks. These are how many fucks we give about it. So start with what you would change. We'll go around with what each one of us would change, then we'll give our official review of it.
You want to change that to from fucks to ducks?
Oh, I see what you did.
Thank you so much.
Damn it.
I wouldn't have thought about that.
All the bullshit dumb duck puns you've done this episode, it took you that long to figure out that you should change fucks to ducks? Are you fucking kidding me? My iPhone does it all the time.
What the quack?
This is
quack foo. Thank you very much, because I would have thought about that in post and been so pissed off that we didn't run with that. So yes, ducks given. Thank you very much, Ernie. So what we would change, I'll start it off. I would change the casting, mainly Tim Robbins and especially Leah Thompson, who are both, in my opinion, great actors. I like both of them, and they're both great to different degrees. But something just didn't fit with this particular movie, with the roles that they were in. For whatever reason, it didn't produce good results. I think it was a good script. It was directed competently, but there just was some kind of, I just felt like it could have been performed better, and I'll explain that more in the review part of it.
All right. For me, it was the runtime. It was the Cirque du Soleil boaters that were fucking dismounting out of their boats as Howard, like everybody's fucking backflipping into the water. That was so fucking unbelievable. I was so pissed off of that last night. I went back, and then they used one of the same scenes twice. It's the boaters, like, I'm not going to fucking get into it. All right. So I'm sorry. But the main thing I would have changed here, they should have just used humanity as the villain. I didn't need Jennings. I didn't need him, because humans are so innately rude and mean-spirited to things that they don't understand. I would have loved that humanity was the enemy in the film. Like, they were trying to dissect them and do all this other crap. To me, now we got this badass cigar-smoking, babe fucking type of man, Duck, after everybody, trying to show them I'm just like everybody else, and maybe he saves the world again when he shouldn't have to. That's what I would change.
If it came out now, it would probably be more of like an allegory for immigration.
I can see that. Yeah. But that's what I would have changed. Go ahead, guys.
Not enough duck titties.
There we go. Oh, Lee Brandon, yeah. He sounded like a little duck quack sound.
I mean, really though. If you're reeling me in with the duck tits. I get 2 sets of duck tits in the first 3 minutes, and then no more duck tits for the rest of the movie.
That's me. I was cool with it. All right, we got James. We got. Looks like we're coming to either Coby or Brandon. Either one of you guys.
So I wish they would have made me give a shit about Howard before they ripped him from his world. I wish that they didn't spend the next 32 minutes of the film. The characters are just confused, and there's really actually no conflict in the story at all until 32 fucking minutes into the film. And that's just like man versus duck kind of like conflict. It's not actually like real conflict. I didn't like how they didn't build up to fucking anything in the film. There was no build at all. The things that they did, they were like, he had this question, right? They didn't build up to answering this question. They kind of just went and talked to a janitor or a lab tech, and then like he went off and did something, but you don't get any of that. And then Howard's going back and having weird jobs and shit, and like sexual innuendos galore, but there's really nothing there that like moves the plot along until Jennings comes along halfway through the film. And then one of the things I didn't really like about it was the fact that the visual effects and the graphics and stuff, the styles didn't match. Like graphically, the art styles didn't match, and that bothered me. Yeah, you could have cut like 45 minutes out of this movie. It would have been decent.
So you're looking for an hour and 11 minutes.
He started with 30, then he cut it in half. We're gonna have a short by the time the shit's over.
Well, there's certain things that you could have like done, like just small little quick scenes to change the pacing to make it go faster in the in-between stages of like finding Jennings and meeting Phil for the first time and then meeting Jennings. There could have been something there that, I don't know, did anything to set up a plot.
Yeah,
really
instead of going from I need to get back home to be like, oh, I guess I need to find a job.
I guess I need to fuck this broad.
That'll be a funny anecdote.
Goodbye, Duck World.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. If I was gonna change something, it would be the genre. I really think that, like you guys were saying, like Brandon was saying, like there's really no plot in the first half. But you know, and I know this is a point of contention, but I think the first half there's a lot of good stuff there. I think it would have been more interesting to see it kind of lean more into the film noir, maybe be a detective story and how it comes and he solves and he uses the fact that he's different, and instead of the different jobs, maybe those are more undercover opportunities for him to find out more clues. I think there was that would have been a more interesting story. And I really, for me, it was so funny. Like in modern times, like I know the Wonder Woman movies, people say, you know, are a big accuser of this is that like, it's just like the big CGI battle at the end. And I was almost expecting this to be different. And then it was like so funny that we've been repeating the same mistake since the 80s. Yeah. Like they barely had CGI then, and they're just doing the same.
They just
same
keep
thing.
hoping that if the new piece of technology drops to make it more realistic, somehow it's gonna fix the plot holes, and it just never fucking does, because that's not how you do it.
Practical's always better.
And like it wasn't like he's some superpowered character. So to like have him face this, you know, dark overlord, I just felt really
Straight out
out
the
of
gate
place.
with no build up, really.
And had nothing to do with the fact that he was a duck or his home planet. Like it was just some other entity.
Like all these reasons are the same reasons I hated the Green Lantern movie.
We'll talk after this, Brandon. It's all right.
I hated the Green Lantern movie just because it was the Green Lantern movie.
Oh my God, here we go. Hal Jordan did nothing to anybody, but go ahead.
You don't talk about Ryan Reynolds like that.
For me, I really wouldn't, because like I said, I've seen this movie so many times, and as a filmmaker myself, I'm perfectly fine with how it was. But for me, having read the comic book, I would have liked them to do Howard more like the comic book character than what they tried to do, because they didn't want to make him. Willard, the director, said that they didn't want to make him too close to the comic because they didn't want to make him basically an asshole for 2 hours. So they want to make him at least better. No, they wanted to make sure he's relatable to a general audience. But I really would have liked him more if he was more like the character. I mean, still with the same everything, but just Howard as was in Gerber's comic.
Ernie, did you see that? Coby brought it up earlier. Did you see him in Marvel's What If? Because that's closer to the comic book version of him than what we got on screen.
Yes and no. It's for me, the Gerber character was very acerbic, sarcastic, and no filter. And sure, he's crass, but Seth Green's take on the Howard the Duck in the MCU is still a little soft compared to Gerber's Howard the Duck.
Okay.
I gotta go to the comic.
Gerber's Howard the Duck. If Howard the Duck was made now, Gerber's Howard the Duck would be coming out, just dropping saying, it's like, "What the fuck are you people doing? Wear your fucking mask. Are you that fucking stupid?" It's like, I'm from another fucking planet and I'm wearing my fucking mask. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I do want to see this now.
He would be saying stuff like that. Where the other one was like, "Oh, he's drinking a martini." Ha! I was like, "Yeah, that's all right." But that's the only thing. That's the only thing I would change is bringing him more closer to the source material. You have to still keep it the same cast crew script. I want to just keep Howard close to Howard.
Okay. I have a prepared statement for my review.
Let the record reflect.
What's the word 7 steps ago?
All right, so the movie can't be taken seriously, and with that, you can enjoy it. It makes more sense after, like I said, hearing what Miles said about Willard Hayek's sense of humor. But the problem is that it never really accomplishes establishing this to let the audience in on the joke. It's like it can't decide if it wants to be based in reality or just be weird and wacky. It goes back and forth between.
Well, fix that. You wrote it. Do it.
Nah, it's weird and wacky.
Thank you.
All right. Scientists bring the first extraterrestrial to Earth and they jump straight to trying to send it back. No, there's no research, no tests, no other. Oh, yeah, that's right. We accidentally got you here. We'll get you right back right now. We'll just have to go back to the space laser. Yes.
Okay,
but
then you're not going to try to do what they did because they did it so good.
Well, there's protocol for how we deal with extraterrestrials, okay? And this movie abandoned it.
He didn't follow proto, buddy. You're done.
But I digress because
I mean, we already know the anatomy of a duck, so
the movie is not based in reality, and you have to accept that going in. It's hard. It's just hard to accept that sometimes because a lot of the times the actors are performing it in a way that it seems like they want it to be based in reality. Nobody really reacts to the fact that there's a humanoid duck traipsing around. I mean, they do, but it's really inconsistent. Like when it's convenient, we'll have them react. When it's not, it's just be whatever.
Hey, look at the talking duck.
It's just bad. It stays bad unless you just accept it for what it is and enjoy it. And like I said before, I'm not sure if I would have been able to do that unless I had already loved it as a child. But it sounds good. It looks good. It's just really weird writing, and I don't think the lead actors really got it all the time, which may be why the humor doesn't always land. It was written to be campy and strange, but the actors didn't get the memo, attempted to perform the lines seriously, which is impossible. You can't perform the dialogue in this like dramatically, or like Leah Thompson did. Whatever she did, it just didn't work. But you could tell that the writing that Willard and Gloria, you could tell in the writing that they were self-aware, because in the diner scene, when Leah meets Howard, they've known each other for like an hour, if that, from the alley to her house, and she's already like,
what am I gonna do with you, Ducky?
Like something you would say to somebody that you've been in a relationship with for like at least a few weeks or a few months. Of what am I gonna do with you? What the fuck are you even thinking about this for? You just met him. The relationship was so like bonkers. But then in the diner scene, she goes,
He's my favorite duck.
You hardly know him.
In that moment, I'm like, okay, Willard and Gloria, they understand what they're doing here. They're at least self-aware of the ridiculousness that they're putting out there. I just don't think it always landed with the actors. So to sum it up, I think they were trying to do something fun and self-aware, but something happened to where the actors didn't get that memo. Chip Zien did a good job. I think the way the animatronics restricted his ability to go over the top with anything served his performance well. The writing works best when it's performed dry. Again, it's shot well. The editing is clean. It doesn't hurt to watch at all. Like there are some movies out there that are bad and they're just like literally are painful to watch and sit through. This is actually an enjoyable experience, with the exception of those cringy sexual innuendo scenes between a duck and a human woman or an alien. I understand, but it's a duck. Let's be honest. The chase sequence at the end is competently directed, like the whole movie is. The makeup is well enough. It was obviously made by people who cared about what they were doing. The only thing that damn near ruins it is many of the performances. The script, for some reason, just didn't seem to translate well into many of the performances. I think with different casting, the tone of the script could have been realized better in the movie in ways that we couldn't even begin to imagine. But if you could imagine it for 1 second, and Miles kind of brought this up, that they based Howard on, like, Howard is kind of like, they watched The Honeymooners to get inspired for, like, the kind of comedy that Howard is. So if you watch this movie through the lens of something that is, like, sarcastic or cynical, like a Tim and Eric skit, or, like it exists in the universe of, like, I Love Lucy or The Honeymooners, if you watch it with that lens, then it's just fun and ridiculous, and you can accept it for what it is. I always enjoyed it as a kid. I still enjoyed it when I revisit it as a high adult. It's the furthest thing from high art, but it's a lot of fun, totally ridiculous. I give it $3. 3 out of $5.
If I had never seen this and I heard you read that, I didn't want to watch this again, but I did watch it. So you're a hell of a writer, man. All right, so with that being said, I have a non-prepared statement. It's only a sentence, and I'm just going to say this. Kids out there who make film and filmmakers out there, this is exactly what happens when you have too many hands in the pots. So I'll tell you this, simple as this. Just try to be as close to the source material that you can, because this thing is an absolute mess. It's all over the place. It's a lot of great parts that do not fit together. Brandon brought it up earlier, the noir. I was like, okay, I'm coming into this kind of who loves Roger Rabbit, who fit Roger Rabbit type thing, and then it goes here, and now I'm fucking traveling to another space. So guys, it's just a lot of good parts that don't fucking fit together. So I give this film $2.
2? Oh wow, that's unprecedented. That's never happened on this show.
Just did.
Not even with Vanilla Sky.
Well, you changed me around on that. $2.
Wow.
$2.
You gave a Marvel movie.
No, I did. I know. I gave a Universal movie $2. Don't MCU me tonight. I'm done.
All right. Brandon.
I agree mostly with what Dirk said, but I will say that I think you could fix a lot of this movie's problems as far as the tone if you fix the soundtrack. A lot of, like, in the fight scenes, some of the music that was accompanying those fight scenes just felt, it just didn't fit. Like, it didn't fit with the fight scene itself. It didn't fit with the setting that they were in. If you would have kept that whole noir theme throughout the whole with just the music alone, there's a few lines where he's talking to Leah Thompson's character where it's like almost like Casablanca-esque. And I feel like if you were to look at through a campy Casablanca lens, I feel like the movie would really work if the audio just worked. But it doesn't. And the acting performances were subpar. But I'll give it 1.5 ducks.
1.5. Wow.
1.5 duck fucks.
All right. Coby or James, it's on you.
I'll jump in. I'll start off with my ranking. I give it 2 out of 5 ducks. I think if I had seen this as a kid, I might have even jumped it to 3. I think I could see how watching this as a kid, especially in your kind of like adolescent, years, that this is a fun movie. It's sexual, but not overly sexual. I think like just between Leah Thompson, the Duck movies, I think like in a lot of ways, this could be somebody's like American Pie or somebody's, like it has those tones to it. While most of you disagree, I really enjoyed the first half. Like I'd actually watch the first half again. Like, if it was the second half, Durden, you said before about, or you guys said before about, did we go on our phones? The second half for me, like it really lost to me. I really just didn't care. But the first half, I was like, where is this going? But enough that I was interested. It just unfortunately didn't really go anywhere that interested me. So again, 2 out of 5 ducks. Would have been 3 if I was born maybe 10 years before.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. James?
It's one down.
I would have to say straight down the middle, 3 out of 5 ducks. It wasn't, like I said at the beginning, it wasn't as bad as I was building it up to be in my head, but I can't call it a good movie. It's all over the place, like you guys said. It drags, especially in that second act. And it felt like you wanted to throw everything into that second act and just make it as batshit, it's insane as possible. Like, here's a car chase, here's a giant monster, here's explosions, everything. And the whole time I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. And there are a lot of things about it, like the visual effects, while definitely impressive for the time, are very dated. The dialogue is just really, really awkward, but I still had a good time watching it. I kind of appreciated like the awkwardness and how it becomes like unintentionally funny.
Yo, how weird.
And it was very ambitious. Like, say what you will about it, is a very ambitious movie, and I don't think it deserves to be considered like one of the worst comic book movies of all time, especially because things like Dark Phoenix and Josh Trank's Fantastic Four exist.
Batman and Robin.
Catwoman and Batman and Robin. I would rather watch this again than like Thor: The Dark World, because those movies are just as bad but not as entertaining and fun to watch. So
definitely.
All right, Ernie, what's your review? Bring this average up for us.
I'm gonna bring the average up. I'm gonna give this thing 3.5 quacks, 3.5 ducks, 3.5 fucks out of 5. However we want to spin this ducky. I absolutely 100% admit and acknowledge the movie has some flaws, some serious flaws. What film doesn't? And considering what it came out at the time, a lot of the stuff which some people will say is outdated, I beg to differ that a lot of the animatronics and the stop motion effects are even better than what we get in CGI, and even the big budget ones, not the low budget ones, but the big budget ones. And like I said, and I disagree. A lot of the acting, sure, is all over the place, but I think for the film, the acting serves the film perfectly. And I totally agree that it's like maybe they didn't know what they were trying to do and what they're trying to get, but I have the foreknowledge of what the director told me. So he said they were trying to bring as much of Gerber's universe into what they can in 2 hours. So that's where it seems so scattershot. Like, where it's like, well, I'm going to get a job. Literally in Howard the Duck, the comic book, every issue is him trying to find a new job. So that's like something they want to carry over. And the whole Dark Universe, Dark Overlord thing was encapsulating the villains in Howard the Duck, the comic.
Yes, soon the Dark Overlords will engulf the Earth.
Is more in line with a View Askew universe villains type, because like they're just so off the wall that like this would not work in a mainstream movie. If they brought in, like, say a Dr. Bong, that would not work at all in in the live action movie, 86 movie, I should say. So because I'd be like, what the hell? I was like, no, is that not the Bong you think of? This guy literally has a bell on his head. So and so stuff like that. But that it would work perfectly as the animated series. But as a movie itself, it has its issues. But like I said, I found it entertaining. Like I said, when I first saw it as a kid, I thought it was all right. But the more I see it, the more I understand it. And as I get, it's like I actually think it's fine as is. And there definitely can be a better movie if they put the money into it, but you know they're not.
It's yeah, I mean, it was definitely, you could tell that love went into making the movie, that they cared about what they were doing. And I mean, even to make a bad movie is a lot of work. And this isn't a bad movie. It's
a movie that turned out bad.
What asshole gave it a 1.5?
Hi, it's me.
Hey, asshole. Thanks a lot.
Because it's so easily fixable.
just take the shit out. Just take 45
cut
minutes.
it down and change the score. You'd be fucking fine.
I like to imagine what the atmosphere was like when they screened it for the first time with the executives. Like, all right, guys, come on, let's do a preview. What like they were thinking, just sitting there like, oh fuck,
Just like Howard, they're going to be looking for a job. Just like Howard, they're going to be looking for a new job.
They were like,
I
fucking love this duck.
I would have just loved to be in the theater with people on opening night
Ducks
watching
awesome.
this.
Yeah, documentary.
Yeah, that's a good point, James. Ernie, you were there opening weekend. What was it like watching this opening weekend in the theater? Like, what was the atmosphere like?
I can't remember. It was in the suburbs of New Jersey, so there wouldn't be a big crowd. But I'm pretty sure there wasn't that many people there when I went, and it would have been the early matinee. So yeah, I can't really speak to just how everybody else took the movie in, because there wasn't that many people there. But it's brought up in our documentary as we talk to people who've seen the movie and other stuff.
That is a good segue. We'll get out of fucks given with a 2.5 average with our 3, 2, 2, 1.5, 3, and then Ernie's 3.5. That gives us a 2.5 fucks given for Howard the Duck, literally straight down the middle.
It's ducking average.
Yeah. So before we move on to coming attractions, Ernie, and before we say goodbye, just wanted to ask you about your documentary, Howard the Duck. Where the idea came from, how you went about getting it made. Did you have pre-existing relationships with any of the cast? Just what that process has been like for you and where the inspiration came from.
Basically, it's one of the first inspiration was the fact that it's never been done before. Outside of the bonus features you'll find on the Blu-ray, DVD, 4K, it's only like 20-minute featurettes that like just broad coverage of the making of the movie. So there was that. And at the time when we got the idea was that there was a deluge of fan-funded documentaries being made about various movies and franchises. And I was joking with our friend Ben Gollum, who's my composer on the film. It's like they've done Police Academy, they've done Elm Street, they've done Halloween. Why the hell hasn't anyone done Howard the Duck? And I was just joking. Then I just thought for a minute and stopped and went on Google and looked it up. I was like, no one's ever done this. I'm like, we got an idea here. So right at that spot, that's where I got the title's Howard the Duck. And then I just Dr. Strangelove popped into my head for some reason. And then I'm like, oh, it's Howard the Duck or How I Learned to Start Quacking and Love the Bomb.
I like the bomb.
So that's what we went with. So basically it's a documentary to showcase the fandom of Howard the Duck, the movie. And just because I know there are people out there who like the movie and you never really hear anyone going out of their way to tell the world, I like this movie. And it was, at the time, this was coming out during fan toxicity, where everyone's like, oh, you like The Last Jedi, you hate Star Wars, you don't get it. It's like, or you hate Rise of Skywalker, you're not a Star Wars fan. Because it's like, they should have done it this way. This is what they were supposed to. I'm like, you're supposed to take the movie for what it is, for what the filmmaker gives you. If you don't like it, okay. If you love it, great. But they don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just I wanted to put a focus on the fans of Howard the Duck, and there were a lot, and they were reaching out, and it's like, oh, I want to talk about it. And as I was developing the documentary, I was thinking it would be really cool if I could actually get anyone involved who actually made the movie. I was like, yeah, just for the hell of it, I reached out to Ed Gale on Facebook. He got back to me. He actually said, hey, can I have your number? So we talked on the phone. We talked about it. And then it was about 8 months later before we finally got rolling and started filming. And then we didn't know anyone. It was just a matter of who knows who. My producer, Mike Callio, came on board. We knew each other. And he said he knows someone who works for Phil Tippett. So I was like, oh, great. Let's see what happens there. And then he agreed to do an interview. So I'm like, okay, we're going to have to go to Berkeley. So that's where it just started off. It's like, okay, I got Ed Gale in my pocket. I got Phil Tippett. Let's like, who else can we get? And then gradually we just started like getting more names on. And then the pandemic hit. And we had to change things up to going from doing in-person interviews to Zoom. And once I go to Zoom, then really the waterworks just started coming. And we've got Leah Thompson, Jeffrey Jones, who we actually did do in person. Willard Hike was in person. Allie Willis, the late Allie Willis, who co-wrote the songs with Thomas Dolby. And Val May Eric, who was a co-creator of Howard the Duck. So collectively, it's going to be a documentary about the fans of Howard the Duck. We talked to artists who were inspired by Howard the Duck to create their own paintings, figures, artwork, comic books. And then we speak with people who made the film so they can reminisce about making the film and share what they think of the fans. Because I don't think the fans ever really heard from the likes of, say, Jeffrey Jones or Ed Gale or Leah Thompson in mass to say, hey, we love you guys and we appreciate you.
Yeah.
And, so in the end, it's just as much as the negativity is here, I'm trying to keep the negativity out of the documentary because I don't want to focus on that, because I almost went into that area, but thankfully we're so far removed from Last Jedi, so this is no longer relevant to talk about. Like, people's like, oh, Howard the Duck absolutely sucks. I was like, have you seen it? No. Then how can you say it sucks? It's like, well, that's what I heard. Well, you're your own person. You're your own viewer. Make your own. Decide for yourself. See the movie and have your own opinion. Don't go by what other people say. So that's basically what this is. Just like, hey, check this out. These people like it. They're just average people like you or me. And they're saying, no, it's cool to like Howard the Duck.
I'm so in love.
Because I love Howard the Duck.
I do truly appreciate the Howard the Duck fans.
I'm glad that there are people who appreciate all the effort that was put into making this movie.
I can't believe you don't have other people saying that. That's unbelievable to me. How could you look at that duck and go, this is acceptable?
There you go. Get a little better shot of it.
You guys troubling. Like, that was probably somebody's first time seeing it.
But why was the condom open?
People remember that scene for a lot of reasons, and it's usually a little bit off color.
barbed, it would poke holes.
Like we're looking for things to make sense in Howard the Duck.
Showed it to George, and he went like,
But this is weird shit happens when I'm around. What the fuck?
And I'll be sure to contact you, get the information, make sure I have the information correct to include it in the description of this episode, and wherever this video goes, I'll be sure to include it so people can click a link and follow whatever is going to be the best course way to follow the progress of the project. I'm sure that anybody that's watched it, that's taken the time to watch this, that has made it to this point in the episode, will be interested in seeing what you're doing as well. So we'll make sure that they get where they need to go to follow that. Before we move on, I got Brandon, Coby, and James. I muted you guys. We're gonna say goodbye. Just the final, any final thoughts? We could just leave it completely open. It doesn't have to be about Howard the Duck or movies in general. Just anything that you want to, if you want to plug something or all of the above. We'll just go one at a time and say sayonara. Beginning with
Age Before Beauty. Go James.
James?
Yeah.
James. Okay. All right. James.
Thank you guys again for having me. Be sure to check me out. JamesMCD Productions, JamesMCD Reviews. By the time this actually broadcasts, Shang-Chi will have come out. I don't know if you guys did that on purpose, so I will probably have done a review of Shang-Chi. And one thing I put in my notes, and you can put this wherever you want, but I put between this and Death to Smoochie, this is now the second TTFT movie where the female protagonist likes to fuck animals. I just wanted to put that out there for you.
He obviously missed the 10. But yeah, we've done 3
But they
now.
never did.
Allegedly.
Another victimless crime.
Okay, James, thank you so much for your time today, man. We'll be talking to you soon. And always, if you ever need us to come on, we'll come on for you, sir. Be safe as always. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. And that brings us to the Coby Beef.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. This was awesome. It was great finally getting to see Howard the Duck. Sometimes you just need to be on a podcast to push yourself, just still doing all my writings for CBR ScreenRant, so you can check all my social out at Coby Greif. Try to spell it right if you can. And I'm actually working on a children's book right now, hoping to have it out by the holidays. So just keep up on my socials for that. Lastly is we were told to potentially wear something duck related. I don't have anything duck related, but this shirt does have flamingos. So I just didn't want to say goodbye without that being addressed.
You had to show us your shirt before you flamingoed.
Exactly. Yes.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Hey, man. Hey, listen. Thank you so much. Hey, keep up the great writing, man. We'll follow you. And as always, if you need anything from us, please let us know. And we'll be seeing you soon, man. Shang-Chi, we gotta talk.
And congratulations again on the the love.
Yeah. All right, be safe, man. And we'll talk to you soon, man.
You guys.
All right. And that brings us to the Brandon. Don't call me elevator pitch. Karlis, what's going on, sir?
Yeah, don't try to find me anywhere. I really don't. I'll come out if I want to see you. Okay. Otherwise, yeah.
Groundhog Day.
Other than that, it's one of those. I'm gonna watch it again because I watched it once before and I've never seen it before. So I know I'm being ultra critical of it, but I didn't hate it. I don't think I could hate it. It's just too ridiculous. But there was plenty of times where I was looking. I'd stop, I'd pause it, I'd look around, and be like, "What the fuck am I watching?" And then I just have to hit start and keep playing it. But thanks for having me on, guys. It's always fun.
Yeah, I like that right after you finished watching it, you sent me a message, said, dude, this movie was so bad and somehow fun. It's a lot to unpack for sure. I think that sums it up just about perfectly. It's so bad and somehow fun.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's fun. And
if the movie's gonna be bad, it can at least be entertaining.
Be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandon, thank you so much, man. You've been awesome. You're definitely one of the highlights of our second season of doing the elevator pitch. So thank you so much, man. Best of luck to you and keep it going, brother.
Anytime.
Hope you feel better.
Yeah, I'm starting to get there.
Good.
That margarita I had earlier kind of fixed some things.
I'm gonna try that after this.
All right, Ernie, final words.
Oh, well, first, thank you so much for having me on and reaching out to me. It's like, hey, we're doing this. It's like, of course I'd be happy to talk about the duck and the doc.
I contacted him yesterday. So like less than 12 hours.
You're never like, we got another interview. I'm like, if one more fucking duck in person comes on this show, he's like, no, it's this guy. I'm like, oh yeah, he's welcome. Bring him.
So thank you for coming on. Yeah.
Just in terms of Howard the Duck, it's one of the things we talk about in the documentary is our guilty pleasures. And for some people, this definitely qualifies as a guilty pleasure. And for me, guilty pleasures are movies that I know are bad, but I still find enjoyment in. Whereas, like, I could say RoboCop 3, guilty pleasure, hate me. It's like, I know it's nowhere near like the others, but it's a guilty pleasure. I enjoy it. Garbage Pail Kids, not a guilty pleasure. I hated that movie. I said I would never, ever. I saw it twice in my lifetime, once on video, and a friend of mine dragged me to a theatrical screening of it. And I said, I am never, ever going to see this again. I was bored to tears. It was like an hour and 20 minutes, and it felt like 3 hours. I'm like, I'm never seeing this again. So it's, and for Howard the Duck, it's like, for me, it's not a guilty pleasure because I liked it. I don't find anything wrong with it. And other people find it as a guilty pleasure. And it's a sticking point that is like, you shouldn't judge people for what they like and what they hate, unless it's really, really something you shouldn't be liking. Like I'm like the number one fan of Nazi Germany in 1941. No. It's like, no. It's like, the Third Reich is great. No. Third Reich getting blown apart by Indiana Jones? Great. So, so definitely something. It's for me, Howard the Doc is definitely something that I want to use to say, hey, don't judge. It's like people work hard to make these movies, and sure, some of us set out to make the movies exactly how they turn out to be. Sharknado, for example, that's meant to be a bad but entertaining movie. Don't expect Lawrence of Arabia, but if you get Lawrence of Arabia and you get Sharknado, then that's a problem. So always go in with an open mind to a movie. Take in with a grain of salt what anybody tells you, but make up your own mind by actually going to see the movie, and instead of like just going off somebody's other, because you might miss something great, and then if you're lucky, you'll miss something that you never should have seen. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to miss something that was really good because the person who's telling you not to go didn't get it. So not to say that you guys didn't get it. It's just different audiences, different tastes. And as I was making this documentary, it's schizophrenic when it comes to Howard the Duck. But in the end, people take away something that they like from it. So that's really all that matters. And that's what I hope to convey once we finally get Howard the Duck out.
All right, guys, coming attractions. Next Thursday, we'll release all the full conversation with our awesome guests from this episode. And I meant to say all of our awesome guests for this episode. Guys, thank you so much. We never would have thought we would have had you, and neither would Howard. Now,
that's just going to be 6 hours long. I'm warning you now. So clear your schedule for next Thursday. There is so much. If you're a Howard the Duck fan, you'll want to see the full conversations with all these people. It's
and
great.
If it doesn't make Howard the Duck, I'm going to be disappointed. Now, coming up on the 17th is our... Dun, da, da, da. Was that good enough?
Yeah.
Great.
That's our 1 year anniversary special. Like you said, we are going to be premiering our film, I'm Going to Kill Someone, this Friday right here on the channel, and then hosting a special reunion episode after that.
Now, next month, we actually kick Halloween month off right with Candies. I'm not going to say it.
So that comes out on the 27th. We need to go see that.
Exactly, because we're going to premiere it on October 7th, and then the special Halloween episode on the evening of Halloween. Now, we are diving into the people, not versus O.J. Simpson, the people under the stairs with the Stairmaster himself, Mr. Jan Birch.
So much planned.
We got so much room to do activities now.
Yeah, it's going to be a fucking great Halloween month. We would like to thank Ernie Trinidad, James McDonald, Coby Greif, Brandon Karlis, as well as all of our guests, Mr. Marty Brenneis and Miles Chapin and Reed Kirk Rahlmann and my God, Martin Ganapoler, Stephen Kravitz, and who the fuck am I forgetting? Marty Brenneis, Miles Chapin, Martin Ganapoler, Stephen Kravitz, and Reed Kirk Rahlmann. Okay.
And guys, last but not least, before we go, we're going to see you next week, but just remember one thing. Once you go quack, you never go back. Okay?
No.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.